I'm joined this morning by Mr. Kwame Jantua Esquire. He is a member of the CPP and also a private legal practitioner. Mr. Jantua, good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's a lovely dress.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Edem Agbana is parliamentary candidate for K2 North. Edem, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sarah. Been a while.
Yes, so how's the campaign going?
By God's grace, everything is going on well, and we are very confident that come December 7th, President John Dramani Mahama and Edem Agbana will record over 85% victory in K2 North.
Okay. I wish you the very best. Edem is my friend, so I'm asking you that you vote for him. When my friends come on the show, I hope that they win, really. But you have to vote for Edem, K2 North people. And George AEC is Director of Communications for NADMO. George, good morning.
Good morning to the delectable, glamorous
Hey.
media. I beat you to it, right? I beat you to it.
What were you?
I beat you to it.
I didn't see that coming. Mr. Mutimbrafo, no idea.
I beat the honorable to it.
You know, when he started, I think he was going to do the usual good morning to President Jacob. So. Anyway,
Boy,
what did you teach when you were teaching?
Mathematics.
Oh, not English?
No, but my wife was teaching English, so she was teaching
Ask
me.
what did
as
he
well.
eat this morning?
Yeah, please, Mr. Johnson says to ask you what did you eat this morning.
Adam knows.
Anyway, good to have all of you here.
Yeah, good to hear.
Good to see you.
Okay, so I'm sure that you know what is happening. I mean, this morning we're going to look at two main issues. Of course, over the weekend we saw the NDC launch their manifesto, and on Sunday, the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Baumia, met the press also, and we will discuss that a little later, even though shortly. But I'm sure that you are aware that yesterday the Agric Minister declared an emergency over drought in the northern regions of Ghana and bans export on grains. Let's quickly listen to the Agric Minister.
These regions had, up until last Wednesday, experienced dry spells that have led to the disruption of crop production. The lack of rain over the past 2 months has severely impacted the planting season in many of the farming areas. Of the 8 regions, the northern region is the worst, with the upper east region being the least affected. Some of the notable communities affected in the upper east region include Gaboliga, Teshi, Boya, and Angpaliga. With no rains for 2 months leading up to the planting season, crops that were sown in anticipation of the rains have been left struggling without sufficient moisture. And there are fears of low yields and potential crop failures. We are keenly monitoring the situation in the southern regions, which are also experiencing some rainfall disruptions, delaying the onset of the southern sector minor planting season. The livelihoods, investment, and incomes of over 980,000 farmers cultivating an estimated 1.8 million hectares are at risk. And the ripple effects on agricultural value chain actors, such as the farmhands, aggregators, processors, traders, transporters, and on food supply could be felt across the entire country. We fully understand the immense pressure this situation places on farmers, value chain actors, and our food system.
So that's the Agric Minister, Brian Achampon, there yesterday telling us. But you know, 2 weeks ago, I saw the story by the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. And this is where we are now. The Agric Minister says this is going to, or we're fully going to feel the effect of it by the end of September. I'm going to start with you, George, on this one. How did we get here?
Yeah, thank you. So, good morning to you. Good morning to your production crew. And good morning to my colleagues, Honorable Lawyer John Tua and my brother, aspiring Member of Parliament. I know our candidate is going to sweep the seats there, Katie North.
Who's your
I wish
candidate?
him well, but our candidate is definitely going to
Who's your candidate? He doesn't
forgotten
even
his
know
name.
his candidate.
We have a candidate there.
You don't even know
we
your
spoke about
candidate.
him. You get it?
You see, you don't know your
Don't
candidate for
worry.
Kettino.
I'll
It's
get
fine.
it for you.
It's
I'll
okay.
get it for you.
The
One second.
candidates are many.
Yes.
So it's understandable.
One second. But he's definitely going
I'm
to
not
win,
surprised.
so
He's
don't
not known
worry.
in his own party, so.
You and mischief. Yeah. So it's sad that the situation is getting worse. You know, being at NADMO, when this Bagri spillage began, we told the people that because of the dry spell, the effect of the spillage is not going to be that high because it's not coinciding with the rains. On the other hand, the dry spell is having a biting effect on our farmers and our agriculture up north. You know, it is the breadbasket of the country. I understand they produce about 60% or so of the food we eat. So because of the dry spell, 2 months continuous, it's affected the crops. And then the recent little rain that started in the upper east also submerged vast lands or farmlands underwater. It's worrying and precarious. As the minister said, measures are being put in place to forestall any possibility of food shortage. And amongst them is the issue of banning exportation of grains. I've heard some of the farmers opposing that and saying it's not the best measure. But the minister, I suppose, said that the measure is going to be put in place to get farmers to voluntarily contact the Ministry of Agriculture to, offer their grains when they are available because they don't want them to take them across or export them. That is one way that we are looking at. Another way the minister is talking about is the possibility of some compensation for the farmers per hectare and co, which will cushion them for the loss that we've had. And these a ban on the exportations are wise to keep the little grain reserve and stock that we have in country, and that will be good enough to sustain us as a people and to avoid food insecurity. And so these are measures that are being put in place. The finance minister also announced some amount of money that will be released and talked about the dire consequences if we are pushed to begin to import grains into the country because of the precarious nature of our forex. And so that is another area that they are putting in measures to ensure that we do not get to that point. And so the finance ministry, the Minister of Agriculture, and of course the Defense Ministry are all collaborating to ensure that the system is maintained and to assure the Ghanaian people and the farmers that government is working in tandem with them to ensure that they do not lose out too much because there will be some cushioning for them, and that is good. So it's worrying. How did we get here? Government undertook to construct one village, one dam.
What has happened to that?
Yes, over 400 or 440 of them were constructed, albeit some had challenges and got dried up when we needed them most. But I understand there are some that are still holding water and being used for farming and then to give animal, the livestock.
440 dams were constructed.
Yes, or more. In fact, there are
And some have dried up.
Yes,
How many have dried
because
up?
you remember when the auditing was done, we understood the nature of the dams were not such that they could hold water, especially in the dry season when we needed them most, because that is even the objective of the policy in the first place. And
So after pumping millions of cedis into the project. Today you're telling us, admittedly, yes, that after the auditing, the dams couldn't hold water for
Some,
this
I
period.
said some.
Some.
Yes, yes.
So
some
the ones
are
that
there.
are serving the purpose,
yes,
where are
they're
they?
there. Oh, there are lots there. The data is available. We can mention. If you permit me, I will get some of them and mention them to you.
So out of the 440,
A lot.
how
a
many
lot.
have dried up and how many
A
are
lot
functional?
are there. I don't have the data on those that have dried up, but there's the challenge because you remember when it came up, they said, once the minister herself even said 50,000 CD dam and co was not good enough to for the. But to be honest with you, I've seen dams. I've been to the GHOne Dam. You know, the irrigation farm in the rice irrigation farms in the Dowenya enclave, and the kind of dam that is there. My anticipation was that that's the kind of dam we'll be having across. But you cannot have, because the quantum of water that is available for the holding is also something that is considered when the dam is being constructed. And so the Polugu Dam was one major one-stop shop for, irrigation and then holding floodwaters up north. So these ones were to serve smallholder farmers, and it served its purpose, though there are challenges with some. So if you permit me, the construction, I have some here, that we have the small F dam, 1V1D at Logu, in the Upper West region. We have Vinving, also in the Upper West region, Nyagli in the Upper West region. We have the Kushini Dam in Savannah. We have the Fushila Dam, also in Savannah. We have the Pufian Dam, Upper East, and the list goes on.
These are the
list.
constructed dams,
Yes,
not the functional dams.
The constructed dams.
But we
You
are
get
talking
it?
about functional
Yeah, no,
dams.
you see, I'm telling you, we constructed over 440. In fact, some even push it around 500 and all that. And so, yes, it's a good beginning. There are challenges. What it means is that we review the policy and we'll look at it and see, okay, how can we get sustainable dams that hold water for longer period? And I know the engineers have been working on that. And so that is very important, because I've had some people pushing the question, including Franklin Kujo, about the One Village, One Dam and its status as of now. He was asking the government on that. And so, yes, we need to look at that. And these are the times that critically we needed the water that is held up there to be utilized for our farmers. So, yes, it's challenging. We shouldn't completely depend on rainfall pattern. And this government
What
saw
about
that.
the
That's how
Polugu
we
Dam?
did. Yeah, the Polugu Dam, I mentioned it last time that, it was a Sino-Hydro project, about $1 billion irrigation aspect, and then the dam, and then the solar panel energy provision, about 60 megawatts and co. But when COVID struck, the funding country and co had challenges, so they had to pause it, and then we had also to hold on with some of it. People said we released about $12 million.
Not people
For the
said. It's
initial-
contained in the Auditor General's report.
That's
So
correct.
when you
That's
say
correct.
people said,
That's
it's
correct.
not a rumor.
No, but I'm not going to say it's rumor. I'm
Okay.
saying people said we released $12 million and it was a waste. I disagree with that.
But
I
the
disagree
Auditor
with
General's
that.
report said
Yes.
that after that $12 million was paid for mobilization,
Yes.
the contractor is
Mobilization,
no
that's good.
longer at the site.
Yes.
So it means we've wasted another money.
No, you didn't waste it. It's before projects begin, there's mobilization. So people mobilize to site. That's it. The contractor must mobilize to site. And initial
And he's left the
engagements-
site.
Yeah, if funds are not streaming in, how can you continue
After
to
$12
be
million.
inside? Of course, it's for mobilization. You mobilize to site. And this is a $1 billion project. This is a $1 billion project. And so if the funding country had continued to release, but for, this pandemic, funding would have been continuously released for the contractor to do his work. And so once funding stopped, then there was no need, because there's been sensitization, engagement, measurement, everything along the enclave, okay, all the way Talensi, everywhere, the Pualugu area. And so that's the issue. And we know that the Dr. Baumia, candidature, he's assured the Ghanaian people that the Pualugu dam project will be continued when he wins the next election. And I've been very excited about that because one project that I was excited about when it started, VRA was overseeing it, and my good friend, now Director General of TVET Services, David Pra, was communicating. So we're engaging each other and seeing the processes. So, Sawa, Pualugu is a major project that we need up north to be able to help in irrigation and in solar paneling, and then holding of flood waters, and then stopping these perennial flooding of our 5 northern regions as a result of the Bagri spillage. So the Minister of Agriculture, I'm happy they've identified this and they've put measures in place to forestall the possible food insecurity, especially relating to grains and others going into the future. So yes, Finance Ministry, Agriculture and Co, they should collaborate and then assure the farmers that there's hope, by the end of September, measures being put in place may curtail the possibility of food insecurity.
Adam.
So, but let me say good morning to our viewers, especially the good people of Ketu North, and to use the opportunity to invite all my people to my campaign launch on Sunday, September 1st, 2024 at Joje Jesime at 1 p.m. We will have a number of dignitaries, a number of leaders of the party, members of parliament, the likes of Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, Sami Jemfi, Shemima Muslim, Ubobia, and co will be with us. And so I'm inviting them to the campaign launch. So, I mean, well, you are invited. You are invited. It's just that when you come, your people will. I know they will not be happy with you, even though they know that their candidates won't even get up to 10% in the election. But it's politics, and so they are also pushing. So, why the issue of the drought is worrying. It's worrying because where we are today, it threatens our food security. And it's an issue that government must pay particular attention to. And we must admit that policy failures have contributed to the challenge that we have today. Let me start with the causes of drought. We all know that we have natural causes. And so climate change is a big issue, a big conversation. We can say climate change has also accounted for the challenge. But in preparation for a season like this, it is important to recognize that government's inconsistencies in policy implementation within the agriculture sector has also resulted in the challenge that we are confronted with today. Let me begin with the dams. In 2018, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo went to Bilsa South and told the people of Ghana that government was constructing 570 dams. Later, they told us that they spent 250,000 Ghana cedis each, or per dam, running into several billions of Ghana cedis. When the NDC went on an inspection tour, I recall Sami Jemfi led the communications team. They held a press conference in one of the facilities that they described as a dam. And we told the people of Ghana that government was sinking money into projects that could not sustain agriculture and that they were dug out. the likes of George and MPP communicators described us with all sorts of adjectives. But today, if indeed what they constructed were dams, the dams would have been functioning today, and it would have cushioned the farmers against losing the 3.5 billion that the Minister of Agriculture has announced. So when you talk about reckless expenditure, when you talk about causing financial loss to the state, this particular project of the 570 so-called dams, which we know are dugouts, can be part. Because if you sink money, public funds, into dugouts and you call them dams, and now that we are in the dry season and it's not raining, the dams or your dugouts cannot even hold a bucket of water to supply water to the farms. It means that it was a useless venture that you undertook. Because when you go to my constituency, for example, dams constructed by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, dams constructed that dates back to over 60, 70 years ago. As we speak, even if it does not rain for a whole year, those dams still functions. You still find water in them, and farmers can rely on them for irrigation. So you sink so much money into projects, dugouts, you deceive the people of Ghana, you deceive the people in the north that you were constructing dams for them. And today, the dry season is exposing you. You cannot even provide water for the farmers to use for irrigation purposes. Number two, this government has been boasting about constructing warehouse, a buffer stock system. Recall that under the NDC, we introduced the Ghana Buffer Stock Company, which allowed government to buy from farmers during the peak season and store these goods, these grains, for use, especially in seasons like this. What has happened to the buffer stock system that we have? You see, propaganda, deception, and gimmicks cannot run a country. What has happened to the buffer stock company? How come, as we speak today, which of your so-called warehouses that you were boasting about, that you made so much PR about, the buffer stock, which of them can we point to that they have in stock some grains for a period like this? Because the entire intention, the purpose for such warehouses, the purpose of having a buffer stock mechanism is to ensure that during the peak season, government invests in buying harvest from the farmers, keeps it for a season like this, so that even all year round, there will be good supply of food, of grains, so that the good people of Ghana will not suffer the food inflation that we are suffering today. But that also, you could not keep it, you could not maintain it. And so the buffer stock company, we can't even talk about what it does today. Number three, this ban on grains, it may appear to us as just a simple decision that government has taken for political gains, but it has dire consequences on us. Because Ghana supplies our neighboring countries with grains sometimes. Now, in exchange, there is intra-trade, especially within the ECOWAS sub-region. If Nigeria, Niger, and even Togo decides to also give a counter ban on the export of food items from these countries, items like ginger and onions will be in short supply. And so further consultation was needed to see what we could do to ensure that there is food security. Again, this is a government that boasts about a so-called planting for food and jobs. And we have said that the evidence suggests that planting for food and jobs is one of the biggest scams of this government.
Is it?
Biggest
Why
scams.
do you say so?
So a simple, I mean, even a level 100 student, a child of 2 years who is even placed in an economic class will tell you that when indeed there is abundance, prices or supply is more, prices reduce. Is that not it? If you claim that you have implemented a program called the Planting for Food and Jobs, and that program has resulted in increased yields, what then explains the high food inflation, the hyper food inflation that we are experiencing as a country? What explains it? Only a few months ago, so how much were we buying tomatoes in this country? And so if indeed government has invested millions in the so-called Planting for Food and Jobs, and they keep claiming that the PFJ has increased yields in this country, why are we not feeling the direct impact of it with regards to the pricing of food in the market or food items? Why are we having the short supplies? Why is government unable to ensure that all year round we have grains, maize, we have beans, and all the other grains that we need for consumption in this country? And so policy failure and deception of this government is what has brought us here. What can we do about it? Moving forward, I think that allocating 8 billion to these farmers, I am interested in knowing the approach in identifying the actual victims of the drought with regards to the farmers. I'm interested in knowing. Because this is a government that has a track record of abusing vulnerabilities, of abusing disasters, of abusing challenges to their benefit. We recall in 2020, after the elections, their own parliamentary candidate told us that COVID fund, which was allocated for the suffering Ghanaian, was shared among party executives and parliamentary candidates for them to use for politics. And these are things from their own party members, from their own parliamentary candidates. And he can't deny that. Now, how are we sharing the 8 billion to the farmers? Only a few months ago, so government decided to share some fertilizers to farmers. And guess the approach? Instead of going by the market-oriented approach so that every farmer deserving of these fertilizers will get a fertilizer, government decided to use members of parliament and the municipal assemblies. And so the decision as to who benefits from fertilizer was left to the political authorities. And so if you are not in NPP, an active NPP member, where the MCU will choose you among the beneficiaries, or in constituencies that NDC has MPs, if you are not an active NDC member, where your member of parliament may choose you as a beneficiary, you may be lost out. We can't run a country like that.
You mean NPP?
I mean both NPP and NDC. That's why I'm saying that. I said no.
Okay, no. He's talking about MPs. He said MPs.
I'm saying that government use MPs.
So okay, I get what you mean. Okay. So
You
in
see,
areas
I said
where
that MPs and MCs.
the MPs
So in
were
areas where
NDCs,
MPs were NDCs,
they were
it is
selecting.
most likely
I get it.
the MPs may be selecting people
Okay.
that are aligned to them. And
Okay.
You see, some of these issues.
Why do we have
to
the
speak-
assemblies?
No, I'm telling you that you are using both the assemblies, the MCE, and the MPs. And so why
Right.
won't you just use a market-oriented approach? Why, if there is a disaster, how do you send the relief items? Don't you go by identifying those who really have been affected? Yeah. Do you use party executives? No. Do you use the MP's office? Do you use the MCE's office? You must identify because they have structures. Yeah. So are you telling me that the Ministry of Agriculture and the government of Ghana cannot put in place a simple mechanism to identify those who really need the fertilizers, that you have to be using political authorities to share it? And so this 8 billion.
Hasn't that the way that we've always done things in this country?
But things cannot continue this way, and that is why we need a reset. That is why we need a
We
reset.
need an upgrade.
No, we need a reset.
But it was the same under your party when you
No,
were
it
in
wasn't
government.
the same. Which program? Which government
It doesn't
program?
have to be.
Which fertilizer?
It doesn't have to be a fertilizer
NDC,
sharing
under the
program.
NDC, under the NDC, we gave out free fertilizers.
They were smuggling.
Let me
DCs
let
were smuggling.
under the NDC, we gave out free fertilizers. When were these fertilizers given to MPs? And letters written to them that select 100 farmers to come and benefit from fertilizers. And the government will brag that we have given fertilizers to farmers. And my question is that when you have hardworking, decent, and deserving farmers who may not be aligned to the political party, who may not be known by these political authorities, it's government telling us that after the so much noise of digitalization and digitalization, you cannot keep a proper record of farmers who really need these items, and you go about sharing it in this manner. Why do you ignore the market-oriented approach? And so these are serious conversations that we need to have as a country. So while this drought issue is simply a matter of policy failure, but my fear is that knowing this government and their penchant for corruption and abuse of power, they may use this 8 billion again as a campaign tool and be sharing it to parliamentary candidates and party executives, sharing it to people who they believe will vote for them, and using it as a vote buying scheme. We need to move beyond this petty politicking. I am confident that come 2025, January 7th, when President Mahama is sworn in as President of the Republic, there will be a reset and Ghanaians will see changes. I will come back to the issue of the Paulugu Dam. You see, sometimes it is important for us, George, it's important for us to be very constructive in our views on certain critical issues. Very constructive. George, you were in this country. Your flag bearer, Dr. Baumia, granted an interview, and they asked him his legacy to the northern region, what he would describe as his biggest legacy. And he said, the construction of the Paulugu Dam. That is what he would describe as his biggest achievement. But as we speak today, what is the work that has been done on the dam? $1.2 billion is missing. 1.2 billion, according to Auditor General.
No, it's 12.
Money is
$12 million.
$12
$12 million.
$12 million.
That's
Sorry,
more
$12
5%
million.
mobilization.
$12 million has been allocated for the
Yes,
project.
it's not missing.
Money has been released,
Thank you.
but
The
cannot be
contractor
accounted
has
for.
left site.
It's been accounted
It cannot be accounted for. So at the time he was telling us that was his biggest achievement. What was the level of, what was the work? What work was done at the time? Process has started and he claimed. You see,
Please don't answer. They're supposed to be
you see-
rhetorical questions. Let's move
so
on.
you told us that your biggest achievement is that. So I imagine that I sit in this studio and I tell you that my biggest achievement in Ketu North is that I have constructed an AstroTurf for them. Then 3 years later, you come back to Ketu North to interview me and you are asking of the AstroTurf, and I'll tell you that at the time I told you that is my biggest achievement, processes have started. Indeed, you may have started processes, but have you completed work? Has work begun? And yet you claim that because you were sitting on radio, you sat behind a microphone, and so you could lie. Honesty is a key character that every leader must have. So if you have a flag bearer who stood before the people of Cape Coast and told them that, people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are constructing a harbor and an airport for you. Years later, your president said he didn't even know about that promise. So at the time, the flag bearer, the vice president, was making such juicy, lofty promises that they were constructing. At the time, he said they were constructing. That's what he said. You can play the video. I challenge your production team to play the video. He didn't say we will construct. He said we are constructing harbor and airports. Today, not even a block can be located. So if you have the same flag bearer who claimed that the Paulugu Dam was his biggest achievement at the time, and today
We cannot even locate the contractor. And you tell us that when this man tells us he will do A, B, C, and D, we should believe him? Ghanaians trust John Dramani Mahama because trustworthiness is very, very important. Your flag bearer lacks that. Your presidential candidate cannot be trusted for his words. In fact, when he greets you good morning, you must look at the direction of the sun before you respond. Because he consistently has lied to the good people of Ghana.
Like, seriously?
Well, when the NDCs continuously say that Dr. Bawumia is a liar, what has he been lying about?
So I can give you countless number of things that he said that are not true. Countless.
Are not true or has
Yes.
not been done.
It's not. You see, we are not just talking about promises. For example, like this issue of the Cape Coast building of airports and whatever for them. What did he say? He didn't say that we are promising or we pledge to build. He said we are building, we are constructing, and it's important for us to pay
But
attention.
I
to
mean,
these
it's
things.
context.
It's
Isn't
not in
it,
context.
isn't it wording? It's English, right? Well, if
No,
he
but-
says that,
but he is the vice president.
but you know that
He
if
now
some
claims-
if some sod had been cut for the construction of an airport in Cape Coast, you would know.
No, but it was
And
shortcut.
no,
But
so it was not.
It's not every project that they cut short. There
Okay,
are some
but
projects
for
they start,
for
they complete before they commission.
Okay, no problem. That's fair.
Yes.
But on a campaign platform like that, if the project had already started, the language would have said it, that we have done it or we are doing it. But when he says that the people of Cape Coast, we're constructing an airport for
Sawa,
you,
sawa,
I don't necessarily think
doesn't
So,
that
so now,
it says
so,
that project is...
now let me.
oh,
So
It's the contextual meaning
you
of
admit
language.
that the project is not ongoing. That's just what I want you to admit that.
But he
Sawa,
has
no.
he himself
got the
has
land.
said
Sawa,
it.
now, Sawa,
got the
let me tell you the lie in
got the
this.
land.
Sawa, let me tell you the lie in this.
Anchorful.
Sawa, let me tell you the lie.
Please go
in
ahead,
this.
tell me.
Elmina
The
area.
president.
Let him finish, yes.
The president. Dr. Bawumia is vice president. Several years later, the president told us that he, President Akufo-Addo, was not even aware of such a promise. So it means that even if government had plans before Dr. Bawumia made the announcement, maybe it would have been justified by what you are saying. But if the president of the land, the number one gentleman, the executive president tells you that he wasn't even aware of such a promise, it tells you that
Aware of
whoever
He
made the
said-
promise lied.
This is what the president said.
Quote him
I
exactly.
never said I was going to build a harbor. The promises were two. A Cape, what? An
Airport
airport
and
and a
then
harbor.
harbour.
The two
And he
ma-
said,
Okay,
I
so
never
you
said
quote
I
the
was,
president.
yes. He said, I never said I was building a harbor. I said I was going to build a landing site like what I have done in these 6 other places in the central region.
But what the president said is completely different from what the vice president said.
But
So
he
if
never
the-
said that
so-
he
so if
never
the
promised
vice
to
president- if the
construct
vice
an
president
airport.
knew- So if the vice president was aware that the president never said he wanted to build a harbor, why did he make such a statement? It means that he lied to the people.
How?
He just wanted to be cheered. If the vice president knew at the time that what they intended building was a landing site, why did he call it an airport? Are the two the same? So when we say that somebody has lied, these are the facts before you. Again,
Your candidate
Sawa.
says he lies.
so again,
It's on video.
you have a vice president who in 2017, 2018 told us that he had arrested the dollar and given the keys to the IGP. At the time, what was the dollar to the CD? And what is it now?
And that also
If-
makes him a liar.
Yes,
But at
if
the time,
you are
did he not
confident,
do it?
You see,
Was it not done? What, per your statistics?
so at what point did he release it that he didn't tell us?
But at the time when it was being said, it had been done.
So you see, at the time, I recall I was on your show.
Yes.
And I made a statement that governments did nothing to stabilize the CD within that period.
Sure.
And that the vice president was only taking credit for something he knows nothing about.
Wow.
When things became critical, The only solution since 2017 that Dr. Baumia has preferred to the depreciation of the cedi was the establishment of a 40-member forex committee. Apart from that, tell me any deliberate policy, any deliberate action that the NPP government has undertaken to stabilize the cedi. So,
Yeah.
where we are today, look, the Ghanaian people are very, very, very discerning. They can read through the lines. The droughts in the north and the hyper food inflation in this country is caused by policy failures of this government.
Okay.
Come December 7th, they will be booted out of office. This election, the NPP will record their most embarrassing defeat ever.
We're winning this election.
Okay. Mr.
We're
Janswa.
winning it. Mark it.
Win what election?
Mr. Janswa, please.
It must be true.
2024.
I'm sure that you have heard the submissions of both. How did we get here?
Good morning to our viewers. Good morning to my fellow panelists.
Please speak up a little for me.
Yes, I said good morning to our viewers
Okay.
and good morning to my fellow panelists.
Okay. Yes.
A tree will never bend for you to climb. When you want to climb a tree, will it bend? No. As you stand in front of the tree, do you not plan in your mind how you're going to climb that tree? So I ask the question, why in this 21st century are we still depending on rain-fed agriculture? 2, with all the climatic change going on, could we not plan towards food security in terms of our water bodies? They say, and correct me, George can correct me, my brother, can correct me. Did the president say he was putting his presidency on the line, or did he say he was prepared to put his presidency on the line where Galamsey is concerned?
He was putting his presidency on the line.
What has happened to Galamsey? Doesn't Galamsey have to do with our water bodies? And these water bodies are fresh water bodies that could be used for irrigation, couldn't it? Have we been able to do that? So, what plans have we put in place with regards to food security in the last 8 years? The buffer stock, is it working? Have we been able at any given time to be able to, and it's a fantastic document, Planning for Food and Jobs. It's a fantastic document. Have we been able to implement that policy to the hilt? Have we been able to? My brothers were talking about Palugu Dam. What has happened so far in the last 8 years? It would have been a fantastic thing. And listen, that Palugu Dam is not an agricultural project. It's an energy project which has agriculture attached to it in terms of irrigation, which has water to provide water for the people in that area, which has energy to provide energy for that area. What has happened to it? Okay, you spend $12 million. What has happened to it today? Why hasn't anybody been able to tell us why we can't capture water from the Bagri spillage? Why? Why is it so difficult for anybody to tell us that? And in the north, water is gold. And so you said, one village, one dam. What has happened to one village, one dam? Look, the challenge I have with the current government has got to do with the fact that it looks as if the policies they brought out, they just brought it out and couldn't implement. That's the challenge I see. One village, one dam, fantastic. No two ways about it. I would not sit here and say it's a wrong policy. It's a good policy. have you been able to implement? You haven't been able to implement, and then you are spending money, and that money is going down the drain, not doing what it's supposed to do. So I have here a document from the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority, and it's got to do with the inventory of irrigation projects, and there are about 22 of those projects. Let me name some. You have Ashama Irrigation Scheme. You have Dowenya Irrigation Scheme. You have Pong Irrigation Project, Weja Irrigation Scheme, Afifi Irrigation Scheme, Aveime Irrigation Scheme, Pando Toko Irrigation Scheme, Mankesim Irrigation Scheme, Oyiriko Irrigation Scheme, Amate Irrigation Scheme, Dadieso Irrigation Scheme, Kikamba Irrigation Scheme. There are quite a lot of the 22. Let me go to a few of them and what it says where the inventory is concerned. So let's take Ashiamai Irrigation Scheme. The Ashiamai Irrigation Scheme is precisely located between coordinates. It gives the latitude and it gives its distance. The most important thing about this is the status of irrigation and maintenance of the irrigation scheme. One, the main drain is bushy and needs weeding and distilling. The earthen right bank canal needs rehabilitation. The siphon on the right bank is partially silted, leaking, and needs maintenance. And if we could do this, would it not help irrigation in that area? It hasn't been done. Dowenya Irrigation Scheme. What does it say? It's located, it gives its location, and then the water source is the river Dowenya. Status of operation. The project is not functioning due to lack of power supply and the breakdown of all the pumps. The gates, canal turnouts, laterals are all in good condition and can facilitate any measurement. A partial flume is installed in the main canal to measure discharge. Used and excess irrigation water drained easily into the main reservoir. Is it working? Constraints. The Dowenya Irrigation Project offers a suitable ground for effective water management practices due to its good infrastructure, but there are no water management activities. At the moment, the project is not functioning because there is no power to run the pumps. How? Let me go to the last ones, which are in the northern region, and permit me as I scroll down to these ones. This one is the okay, there's the Weja Irrigation Scheme. You know, Weja has got a lot of water, but there's a problem with that one too. What does it say? It says the project consists of 2 inclined centrifugal pumps at the intake, which pumps water into an open canal, which flow by gravity into a reservoir. A second pumping station that consists of 4 vertical centrifugal pumps then send the water to the sprinkler system on the field. The pumps of Klein, Shalins, and Becker make. The capacity of each of the pumps is 120 M3 hectares with 150 HP. The reservoir has a capacity of 15,000 metric square. Status operation of the maintenance. The pumps and the electrical system needs rehabilitation. There is also the need to construct embankments on the road at the lower drainage points and improve drainage. The Weja Irrigation Project sprinkler system uses aluminium equipment. In spite of the obvious advantages such as lightness and low initial cost, the aluminium pipes break easily and are also stolen by thieves who melt them down and mold them into pots It is therefore necessary to gradually replace them with the galvanized pipe. So it is not as if there are no irrigation projects there, but the maintenance of it. And if you don't maintain it, how do you secure your food? Now they are saying, and I hope they don't use it, they are saying this challenge we are facing is going to infect inflation, is going to infect exchange rate, because we are going to import more food. But why haven't we been able to sort the importation of food in this country? Wouldn't have been a good idea? Wouldn't have been the first thing they should have done? Make sure that if for nothing at all, that money that we save from the imports, we invest it in irrigation and make sure that we have more food. And right now, with this situation, they are telling us that food inflation is high. Bring it down. Your government, bring food inflation down. Bring down a lot of these things that are creating challenges for food preservation. Be able to bring it down. Your government. And stop doing things that are untoward, like looking for hotels. The Minister of Agriculture should be able to work with the Meteo service. And I understand that the Meteo service did give this situation of the drought in those areas, the Minister of Agriculture, unfortunately, they misinterpreted the information and data that was given them. How possible? How possible? For me, it is not a question of, oh, is MPP in power, so they are not doing this. Is NDC in power, so they're not doing this. What is going to benefit the people in terms of food, in terms of farmers? This money that they said they're going to give out, is it adequate? They say 1,000 cedis per hectare. Is it adequate? How do they determine the 1,000 cedis per hectare? How long is this money going to take for the farmer to be able to use that money to compensate whatever has gone wrong with their farms in terms of rain? So, all in all, I believe that we should have, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, do we have a plan for agriculture in this country?
The NDC, I guess, has
Or
what?
no, I'm not talking about going forward. I'm talking about now.
Oh,
Or was it planting for food and jobs that was the plan?
But we had the one village, one dam, which was also
It's a plan.
yes.
Will the NDC?
No, but under the 40-year development.
I'm coming.
No,
I'm
he's
coming.
talking about
I'm coming.
now
Now.
under the
National
NPP.
plan.
You should be the best person
under
to
the
tell us.
plans that we have, and the plans that we have. If it so happens that the MPP doesn't come back into power and the NDC come back into power, will they follow what the MPP put down?
Adam, you have to
That is
answer
why
that.
Yes.
it is key. It is
They're
key
not gonna
for
come,
us
so
to
don't
have
worry
a
about
national plan.
You don't have a.
That national plan covers agriculture, covers energy, covers health, covers education, covers housing, covers those sectors of the economy that can strand our country. But we don't seem to be prepared to do that. Yeah, but are we doing? Are we using it? We are not using it.
NDP, National Development
No,
Plan.
that's what we are saying. That
Look.
the
I was
NDC
part of the team
Yes.
that did the 40-year National Development Plan.
Yes.
And when you look at that plan,
Your
it's
government seems to
systematic.
push that document aside.
Now, MPP has come. They have taken the 40-year National Development Plan and they've done their own.
Yes.
And even that their own they've done. Is it shared? Who knows what is in there?
Plan.
Who doesn't know?
Sawa, if you don't plan, you don't get anywhere. You sitting there, Sawa, did you want to stay where you were? Have you not planned? Are you not in law school? Are you not yet to finish law school? And when you finish, would you not be a lawyer? And when you're a lawyer, will it not help your future? Why can't we do so for our country? And that we are always knocking heads. MPP will do it. NDC will do Y. CPP will do T. But there's no plan for us to say is what we are all following, where agriculture agriculture is concerned. So everybody can see the systematic progression of our agriculture today. That we spend 300 million US dollars to import onions. Does it make sense? Yesterday, I went to Dawa, where the government, with the Obatampa project, has secured quite a lot of land, and through MEDA are trying to get the youth involved with MasterCard and some of these funding agencies. The one thing I saw there that was very interesting was using the Volta Dam to irrigate those lands. And at the moment, they're trying as much as possible to put that infrastructure in place in terms of the piping, in terms of making sure that anybody who wants to do farming in that area, at least the basic infrastructure would be there. Now, if this is a good thing, why can't we replicate it around the country? Why have we left it to the last bit of the government going out of power before doing it? So for me, if we do not plan and if we do not stop this kind of rain-fed agriculture, where we are not even adding value. I went to the Pong farms by VRA on Saturday. They are producing rice, but go there and see. Go there and see. Sometimes even funds to get things going is difficult, but they are producing rice. And when you see the rice they produce, fantastic. And we know right now, our staple food is not fufu. Not our staple food kenke. Our staple food is rice. So if we do not sit and plan, the planning is the most important thing. Plan. This is the way we all want to go. Let's all agree to it. When we come to elections, when we put our manifestos in place, what we plan is what should be in there, and the people should understand what is going on. Otherwise, we follow this cycle every year, and unfortunately, the poor farmer is going to suffer. At this material moment where our cocoa crop has reduced to 400,000 hectares. Mm-hmm. Are we not sitting to plan it right now? Shouldn't we plan it as to how we are going forward? And should it be one party planning, or should it be all of us sitting down and say, okay, we were 900,000 some time ago. We are now 400. How do we make sure that we move back to 900 together? So NDC come with their manifesto. We'll do it this way. MPP come with their manifesto. We do it that way. CPP come with their first. We do it that way. Where's consensus? How do we increase it? In terms of even the timing of making sure that we gradually increase cocoa. Look, yesterday I was listening to a program on BBC, 12 midnight. You know what the Swiss are doing? You know, Switzerland depends on chocolate. Chocolate, the production of chocolate is part of their economy, and they make a lot of money. You know what the test they are doing? They have started testing using the entire cocoa fruit for chocolate. Not only the beans, so that they can eliminate the sugar they put in. And they've started the trials.
Okay.
Once they start that, what will happen? Once they start that, what will happen? We won't be doing beans, we will just be exporting the whole pot to them. And it has added value for us here. But because they would want the whole pot, a lot of farmers will be out of business. Aren't we thinking?
Okay, I want us to move on and tackle the manifestos and then meet the press. But I just want to put this across very quickly that according to the United States Department of Agriculture for Foreign Agricultural Services, when the American government was called on to support planting for food and jobs, this is what they said. That it is believed that the planting for food and jobs will address these identified limitations associated with the original planting for food and jobs, but the policy itself appears to be yet another alien policy, lacking in depth. There is every indication that the planting for food and jobs announcement was rushed to create the impression that the government of Ghana still has the financial capacity to sustain its flagship agricultural program with renewed vigor, succeeding in diverting attention from the fact that under the IMF's bailout deal, the government of Ghana can no longer support an input subsidy program. George? Yeah. So this is what they have to say about the...
No, we know generally there's been
Secretly,
financial
why do you want to do this?
constraints, okay, but it doesn't mean, no, of course, the U.S., they are here, right? And they support the PFJ and all that. And that doesn't mean we are going to renege and give up on it. So I've seen a policy that is here, Ghana Agriculture Investment Plan, 2018-2021, and it focuses on 5 key areas: crops, livestock, fisheries, cocoa, and forestry / logging, okay? What the U.S. Department has said, yes, there are financial challenges, definitely, and so there's been realignment of funds and all that. But it means we have prioritized the agri sector. That's what Brian Champon is leading, PFJ 2.0. We are getting land banks, seriously, and we're having aggregators. These are people who are intermediaries between the farmers and then the government, where they get seeds, fertilizers, and all those things that are needed, equipment, tools, and co, to be able to push the agriculture frontiers. That's what is going on, and we've not stopped on that. This government is supporting in those areas. And so, yes, there are challenges. We are not saying no, but we are pushing forward the frontiers and getting national service in, farmers themselves in, getting them quick growing seedlings and all that. That is what is happening. So 2.1 is 1.0, PFJ 1.0 is ended. We are on PFJ 2.0.
But the PFJ 1.0, the Brian itself, do you know what Brian said?
Yes.
Brian said that the
Himself,
PFJ
yes.
1.0,
Yes.
I'll read what he said.
Okay.
The input subsidy concept
Yes.
under the original PFJ was fraught with corruption, according to the new minister. And to remove the opportunity, an input credit system was being proposed. So this is what the minister
Yes,
is
that's
saying.
where the aggregators concept came
So
in for the 2.0.
he says, he
yes.
admits that it was fraught with corruption.
Oh, well, if that's the minister's, what he
very
has
serious.
identified, if there were challenges, okay? That's
there
how
was
come
corruption,
then
not
at the-
challenge.
No, I said, but
Corruption.
corruption is a challenge. If
But
people who
mention
are,
it as
if
it
peop-
is.
No,
Don't-
if people
don't hide
no,
under
no,
challenge.
No, please.
It's
He's not
corruption and
saying
it's corruption.
no corruption at what level.
I am not the
Okay.
one saying
no,
this.
No. The minister has said there's been
Even if it's
identified
1% is corruption.
No,
At
about
what level?
corruption at what level? Okay, it's
I'm
fraught
not
with
the one
corruption.
who said
no,
it.
maybe the people who are supposed to take charge instead of utilize the fertilizer, for instance, if there are situation people are taking it across when they are to use it here. What happens to it? It's a corruption. You get it? So if the challenge is government brings the inputs and people are not using it for the purpose,
it's a
then
what?
there is a challenge. Okay?
what?
So
When I was
oh no,
talking
please.
about-
Let
write
him
it,
finish,
write
let him
it,
finish,
write it.
please, quickly.
Yes, thank you. So these are issues that, are challenges in the agri sector. And the minister himself has admitted it. He didn't go to sleep after admitting it. He's put programs and policies in place that will push the frontiers forward and get farmers excited in the process. We are still continuing giving
So
them
what are
the
you defending
seedlings and
now?
others. You get it?
The
No,
minister's
I'm saying the
statement or-
2.0. No, the 2.0
But I
is
asked you about
going
the
on.
1.0.
Yes.
The original one.
No,
He said it was
there
fraught
were
with corruption.
challenges. Yes, U.S. Department. You read the U.S. Department. There's been challenges. The minister, you've read it. The
And the
minister
challenge
said
is
there were
corruption.
challenges. No, you see what
This is
happened.
no. The
It got to a
minister
point.
said it was fraught with
listen.
corruption.
No, I'm making a statement. Allow me to speak. You get it?
But you keep diverting
No,
to
no,
the
I'm not
2.0,
diverting.
and I'm asking
No,
you.
the 2.0 is a continuation of
We
1.0.
finished with that.
Thank you. And
So
I was
come to
coming
the
to a
one-
point. The 1.0, we got to a point where the minister felt, no, the food crops, the prices are high. and he has to get a concentrated place to bring food crops to show that, it's the middlemen who are inflating the prices and all that. How successful was that? Okay, but that is something that all of us should look at, because that wasn't the way to go, because the success of the product should show in the open market. And recently, tomato prices, tomato sellers were crying that there's glut, and a box of tomato is going for about 100 cedis, something that was about 1,000 cedis about 2-3 months ago. You get it? And so then it discourages farmers. How do we then get farmers to be within to continue to do tomato farming? Okay, because if it gets to glut, what happens? Is there a factory that is going to take it at a good price to make them break even or make profit? That is what we need to look at. And that's how come we're having the 1D, 1F, and then supporting the farmers' initiatives and all that. So these are issues that this government is focused on to ensure that the agri sector works. Again, my brother spoke about the warehouses. It's true. Times like this are when we need the warehouses. The buffer stock is there. That is the primary.
What happened to those promises about the silos and all that?
The warehouses, about 80 or more.
Those are also there.
Yes, all
they are
districts.
Where?
Yes, warehouses have been built across the country. Warehouses,
in your district, is there warehouse?
Almost everywhere. Ejura,
in your district, where's your district?
My
district is Lower Western.
And there's a warehouse there.
I'm not gone to cite some there, but I know there are places.
Is there a warehouse in your district?
No, let's don't worry.
No, Mr. Johnson, is there a warehouse?
There's a deliberate government policy.
None that I know of.
No, there's a deliberate government policy building warehouses.
Where are the warehouses? I'm sure you have the data. Find it.
Yes, I'll get it for you. Don't worry. We'll get
I'll come back
and
to
the
you.
buffer stock.
Find the warehouse for me.
So this time that we are saying, let me conclude that.
Quickly.
This time that we are saying we are going to ban exportation of grains, and government is encouraging farmers to bring their grains to government to buy. It's because we have warehouses where we're going to store them.
So find the warehouses
so these
for
are
me.
there. We can get. I've mentioned the draft, mentioned job also.
But there is none in your district.
I have not vetted my.
But you've seen the one in
yes,
Ejura.
A lot, yes.
You haven't seen the one in yours, but you've seen the one in Ejura.
Oh, why not? Is it not possible? Ejura is
So
a major,
so then there's none in
dominant
your-
farming.
so there's none
No,
in your
I'm saying
district.
there's about 80 warehouses that have
That's
been
not the
built.
question,
Don't worry, let me
George.
get it for you.
Is
Don't
there
worry.
one in your
No,
district?
I say I'm not aware of that.
So
my
there's
district
none?
is Lower West Chim. I'm not. No, I'll have to check and get back to you.
But you are in the
get it?
district. You haven't
No,
checked.
I
But you
live
want to
here.
check
I
that
live
of.
here in Accra.
So how did you go and check that of Ejura?
Oh no, it's a national issue. It was a national news. Ejura also national, because there was something with an MP and the MPP
Thank you.
people there.
All right,
I can
quickly.
Google that and get it for you. You get
Oh,
it.
I need the one.
Yes,
the
I
places
got
where-
the dams for you. You said you just don't need the dams.
The dams, you gave me dams that had been constructed.
Yes,
not
yes.
functioning dams.
No, but you need
That's what
to
I
know
asked
them.
you. That exactly. That's what I asked you.
Yes.
Functioning
Oh,
dams.
some are functioning.
and
some
so
are-
You never told me which one of the list you gave me
Oh,
was
no,
functioning.
don't worry.
So,
I'll get
when
you
you check
the
their-
warehouses. Don't
When
worry.
you check their performance
Tracker. Yeah.
okay, for Ketuno, they will tell you that they have constructed a cassava processing factory. They will tell you they have finished a warehouse in Ketuno. And when you go, what they describe as a cassava processing factory in Ketuno, it's just a structure that looks like somebody's 2-bedroom or chamber and hall apartment. The place has become grounds for snakes and other animals. Nothing goes on there. Nothing. And yet you list that as your achievement. The so-called warehouse that you have, if you had it operational. So you see, this government is very good with packaging lies to the good people of Ghana. But you see,
Actually, I've seen the Ejura warehouse. I've seen it.
I've done my own program, so.
Find the others. You find the
So
others. This
60
other
warehouses built.
I thought you said
you
80.
see,
Food.
you
Yes,
see, the
80,
60,
because
the
this
60
up to a point.
So,
there's a
you
continuation
ought
over
to be,
80.
so
So I've
you
got
ought to be
60 for
extra
you.
careful.
I'll get it for you.
because
Don't worry.
He didn't send me that.
yeah,
too.
no, I'm telling you
no,
something.
no,
He didn't send me that.
I'm saying,
My research team sends
Yes.
me
and
this.
I'm saying that of the 60 that he claims, he's claiming. If
No,
you
I
check,
claim 80, but I've got
no,
information.
you said
60
80. Now you have information on 60.
60 now, so I'll get
The
you.
so-called
As of
60
20,
or
I'll
the
get
80 that you are talking
2023, a
about,
year ago.
they will mention that there is one in Ketuno.
and many other districts that they mentioned, they indeed put up some structures that are not operational because just like the dugouts, you spent 250,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Hard currency, 250,000
They serve the
on
purpose.
structures that are not serving the purpose. Then they are useless. You talk about plan. The NDC spent so much on ensuring that we have a 40-year national development plan.
Nearly $6 million.
Nearly $6 million. And when you came into office, your senior minister held the document and told us that he doesn't believe in a 40-year plan.
Yeah.
And that was the senior minister. Yeah. So all ministers who took directions from him, how do you expect them to take that document serious? And so that document that we're talking about, the NDP document, is not being used. So as we speak today, Sawa, there is no plan. This government is being run by discretion. There's no plan. What you refer to, I'm coming there. You see,
quickly, we have to wrap up.
Yeah, what you refer to, you check it on the World Food Organization program. Every government is made to submit a program or a plan, a report on what is happening in their sector. Tell me, what is there that your government is following? Look, we don't have to be deceiving the good people of Ghana.
About the 5
And I'm telling you, what are you doing about it?
Read the what do you call it for us again?
The report.
The American report.
No, I want to conclude with that.
Quickly,
to
yes.
conclude, the PFJ1 was fraught with corruption.
The PFJ1, yes.
Then,
According to the minister.
Even your own minister admitted. Even
Please,
even
hold on for me, Adam. Out of 80, 16 have been commissioned.
60.
So the other 20 are
It's
what?
ongoing. That's even as of August
Thank you.
2023.
I have said
a year ago.
I have said that the planting for food and jobs, one, was a complete failure.
various stages.
It was a scam.
No.
There was even a time I went to my farm, took a picture, posted on Facebook, and MPP social media activists were sharing it that I was a beneficiary of that failed policy because they were trying to buy credibility for their
A
policy.
former MP of NDC.
But
Number
Adam, there's
two,
one in your
louder the
constituency.
PFJ.
What is in
Louder
the
the-
PFJ?
The
And I am
warehouse.
telling you
Louder
that
it.
I drive past that structure
Yes,
every
there are
day.
weeds there, but
NDC
there's
MP
one there.
No, is it
Commonwealth
functioning?
government on the PFJ.
It's not functioning, but it's
So
there.
if I give you something that looks like a car and I tell you that you have a car,
Oh,
and you
it
cannot
doesn't
use
look
it,
like
What do you
a car.
mean it doesn't
It's a
function?
warehouse.
No, but
A
it is being
warehouse.
used.
Hold on.
But
Hold
I
on.
admitted that,
Agency
Mr.
for
Johnson, what did I say?
Gentlemen, allow me. Thank you.
No.
It's there, but why is it's not functioning? That's what
And
you
I
say.
What do you
Good,
mean it's
and I
not
said,
functioning? It's for
that's not what I
contingency.
said.
Warehouse stores.
But if we
You
were
are saying
using it, would we be
contingency?
finding ourselves in situations like this?
So don't tell us that you have built a warehouse
And it's
and a
sitting there
cassava
gathering dust.
processing factory for cattle when indeed nothing is happening there.
What do you
Rodents,
mean nothing is
snakes,
happening?
that's what you are breeding there.
No, now
The
that there's
American
crisis,
report,
food will be stored
So
there.
the American report.
That's what it
So
is,
you need to keep
warehouse.
quiet and let me finish because when you were talking, I kept quiet.
I agree, Adam,
So the
yes.
American report
Yes.
vindicates the NDC's position.
Did you ever say that it was fraught with corruption?
We
I
have
never
always
heard
said that. We have always, and I am on record to have
That
said
it was
I can
fraught
show
with
you
corruption?
that because they were actually smuggling the fertilizers.
Okay.
Fertilizers that had not for sale written on it. They found a way of covering the north, and it was for sale. They took it to Cote d'Ivoire and other neighboring countries.
You have
No,
proof
it
of
was the
that.
smuggling that made us
several
decide to
proofs.
sell
So now you admit that there was smuggling.
All right.
Then
To
number
cocoa
two, the
farmers.
the
Yes,
the
it was a government
PFJ2,
policy.
the PFJ2,
Oh, no, yes.
the PFJ2.
Yes.
Again, the American report describes it as another alien policy.
Oh, no.
You see,
Because of the times we are
alien
in,
policy. It is
Sarah.
not in the NDC saying it.
No.
Thank you.
Planting for
It's
food
not
and jobs
before,
1 and
it's
2
going
have
on.
failed.
No,
It's
it's
part of the
ongoing.
biggest
Serious.
scams
The
that this
2.0
government has.
is massive.
What is massive about it?
Going on.
All
It's
right.
a failure. That is why we have
Okay.
hyper
Land
food
banks
today.
are there. Go to
Please read it
Kumasi.
again.
Serious. A front place.
Please read
That's
it
what we're
again.
doing.
The
It's the
report,
beginning.
read
Okay,
it
hold
again.
on. I want to even send it to my producer, IB, so that he projects
Send it
it.
for all of us. Send
Oh,
it
I
for all
should
of
send
us.
it.
Yes. Please read it again.
And talk,
Read it
and talk
again.
about the warehouses. too.
Please read
Oh,
it.
yes,
Please
they'll project the warehouse very
read it
soon.
again.
All of them.
Read it
Mr. Janswa, don't worry at all. I'm at your service.
Read it again.
The reports, right?
read
Okay,
again.
I'm sending the reports. I want to have them project that as well
Read
while
it
we're
again.
reading it.
It's very
So
important.
you want the one that Brian said or the one that the American
the
government
American
said?
government
Okay,
one.
so the American
Please
government
give us a
said,
date when it was said.
oh, wait, I'll get that for
Date
you.
is important, but Lawyer John Tua last gave us something. He didn't give us a date about cement price.
We all know.
In 2017, when I gave a date,
But
4th
cement-
October
cement prices-
2016, and
Okay.
between 29 and 33
October
cities. He said
5,
it was 17
October 5, 2023.
Thank you.
2023. Quite
Yes.
recent.
Thank you.
Okay. It's October
you.
5,
The last quarter
2023.
of last year.
Yes, that was when this report was
Yes.
published.
So planting for
let
food
me-
and jobs, planting for food and jobs has started.
2.0 has
2.0
It has started.
has started.
Okay. So
Yes.
does this refer to 1 or 2?
No, so the
Or
American
generally.
report was
It's the funding issue.
on the 2.
Yes,
On the
2.
2?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's
Because the one
they
had
make
failed.
reference to what the minister had said in 1.
Okay.
Okay, so the
One
2.
didn't fail.
Producer, are you ready?
Challenged.
IB, please, are you ready? I want to be sure that my... Okay, oh, so that's the warehouse in Idra. Sorry, that's the warehouse in Idra.
Yeah. And
But
60
there's
of
none
these
in
are-
yours. You don't know
I'm
about
not
it.
aware of
There's
my
one
concern.
in
My-
Kitty
So even the
Office.
Edra, let's check whether it is functioning.
Oh, what do you mean by functioning
But
warehouse?
if you
Is there
if you
food?
put
Is there
up
food?
targets-
Warehouse for
Is there-
contingent.
is there food in
Warehouse
there?
is for
Is
contingent.
there
Are we
food
not
in there?
in? Are we not in?
wait,
in
wait,
the
yeah.
Ah, there was
crisis?
the silos.
But you
built
see-
there.
Hold
Come
on,
on,
please.
They
Allow
want
me
to
to
store
read the...
things.
Please,
Yeah, but you
please.
see, you are so
Hold on.
inconsistent. You just said that
Adam, please.
tomatoes
Allow me.
prices has to
Adam.
go.
Yes.
The farmers are complaining that
Yes,
it
yes,
is too
right,
cheap. Is that not what you are
yes,
saying?
yes.
So it means that this is the time you
To
buy
store.
it and
No,
store.
how do you store
So if it
tomatoes?
is functional, why are you not
That's why
buying
we
it?
have factories.
Oh, you
in
mean
place.
tomatoes cannot be stored?
Yes.
That Adam, that's yours.
No, you
K2
cannot.
North.
You cannot.
This.
That's K2 North.
This.
own.
Not, and I'm
Yeah,
telling
so
you
that's
that when you do
a warehouse.
But
when
the
you-
thing has gathered dust.
I am
They are not using
So
it.
in times like this, it will be used.
This is a warehouse for snakes and rodents.
And
What do you
That's the only
understand
place
by
you
a
find them.
warehouse?
Go on.
We
Go.
store
Please
it.
They
read
want
that
to
one.
come and harvest snakes
Please,
there.
read
The only thing
that
is
one.
there are snakes.
It's contingent time, so
They have never used it. It's a warehouse for snakes.
because there was no contingent.
White
The
elephant.
government.
Buffer stock
White
was
So
elephant,
why,
yes.
so why did we
Why
do
do
the
you
next one?
spend
The
money,
next
put these
one.
things up, and they are not being used?
White
Okay,
elephant.
so that's it. It is believed that Planting for Food and Jobs 2
Yes.
will address these identified limitations associated with the original Planting for Food and Jobs.
1.
But the Planting for Food and Jobs 2 itself appears to be yet another ailing policy lacking in depth.
Because the planting for food and jobs
not
1
done.
did not work.
No, finish.
There is
finish.
every indication
Yes.
that Planting for Food and Jobs 2's announcement was rushed
Yes.
to create the impression
Political
that
reasons.
the government of Ghana still has the financial capacity to
Sika no why?
sustain its flagship
Sika no why?
agricultural program with renewed vigor, succeeding in diverting attention from the fact that under the IMF's bailout, the government of Ghana can no longer support an input subsidy program.
It's true, isn't it?
No, government can find
It's
a way
true,
to get the
isn't it?
resources to support
Where
the
is the
inputs.
money
Because
going
it's
to
a
come
it's a
from?
matter of prioritization.
Where's the money going to come
Oh,
from?
the Ejura. Okay,
What
so
are you going to
I have more
prioritize?
information.
Yes.
The Ejura warehouse is functioning.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know.
Not a place.
Mr. Janto, make your point and let's wrap up, please.
But let it be on
You see-
record. The
you see-
GHOne has never functioned
It will
and
get
it's not
no,
functioning.
in times like
You
It
this.
is
see-
only housing snakes.
Please allow
You see,
Mr. Janto to
sometimes-
make his point so we wrap up.
Sometimes, sometimes, international institutions sometimes like to play politics. Sometimes. But you can see that they have looked at planting for jobs, planting for food 1. And we all agree that planting for food 1 did not achieve what we expected it to achieve.
They did well. It went a long way.
It could have been good. It could have been good, but it was supposed to be better and supposed to be best, because that was the kind of what do you call it, impression they
That was
gave
created.
us. So if you haven't been able to do the 1 better, how are you going to do the 2 better? Prove it to
Lessons
us.
from that, and
Prove it to us in this short period you have
we are doing this.
to being in power.
We have a long period.
So, all in all, And this is the challenge I've had with the MPP. You bring the policy out, but you do not implement it the way you brought the policy out.
How?
And then down the road, you are not able to complete. What was the policy on Galamsey? Tell me.
Yeah,
What was the policy on Galamsey? The president said, whatever the case may be,
Yes.
whatever it would take,
Yes.
we will stop it. Where are we today?
He put his presidency.
Where are we
Ghanaians
today? Oh,
trusted
I
the
thought
way
that
he
put
was
his presidency.
fighting.
That was
Ghanaians
just
trusted the
that
way he
was
was
just
fighting and
propaganda.
renewed
That
his
putting his
mandate.
presidency on the
They
line is
did. His
propaganda.
mandate was renewed.
So why isn't Galamsey stopped?
No, it's talent.
No.
That's why we are finding another way.
Which
at solving
which is
it.
the other way?
No, that's what
Which is the other way?
Dr. Baumia,
When you have,
you know,
please,
brought out
for Dr.
in the media encounter
Baumia,
and the
Dr.
manifesto.
Baumia has not come. It is the future.
So going forward.
It is the future.
Yes.
When politicians are part and parcel of Galamsey,
You have
we
the
know.
facts.
Akonta mining. Akonta mining. It's not Galamsey.
It's not Galamsey.
What is it?
It's a legitimate mining.
Really?
So you
Really?
Yes.
Legitimate?
don't have to defend it.
No Galamsey in there.
Don't mind.
People said they went to a
Anyway,
certain
Went
reserve.
Thank you
into
very
went
much.
into
Don't
forest.
mind, don't
Went
mind.
Let's
into
move on.
went into
Let me-
forest areas when he,
Thank
a
you.
government person, should have known better.
Thank you. Thank you
And we
very
clap
much.
for him?
And in wrapping up, you know that still in that report,
Yes, yes.
it said that about 4 billion cedis, which is about $348 million, had been invested already in the planting for food and jobs over
What
the
have we
past
seen?
6 years.
What have we seen?
He said
What
that's
have
good.
we seen?
That is
He said that's good.
tells you
Thank
what
you very much for coming on the
It
show.
tells you commitment
I
to
understand.
Results.
revitalizing the
Understand.
agri
Thank
sector.
you. Thank you for coming on
Oh,
the
so
show.
we didn't talk about
No, we
resetting
don't
and
talk about
upgrading.
them.
And there's no time,
Oh,
unfortunately.
resetting and upgrading.
Next week, next
Yeah,
week.
we need to go into the reset manifesto.
Next week we will do that. There's still we're still discussing
It's a pedestrian
manifesto
manifesto.
until.
Oh,
but thank you very
pedestrian.
much. We have a
Manifesto
one-on-one
of
with
bold solutions.
Isaac
from
Adongo,
DMV.
so we'll start
sure,
the
sure.
conversation and next
Oh,
week.
you have a chat with the
Yes.
oh,
Very fantastic.
Adam, all the best with your
you,
manifesto,
Sawa.
your
My
campaign
campaign
launch.
launch,
Yeah.
Yes, all the best.
All the best, and
Thank
I'm
you.
rooting for him.
But
I'm
my
rooting-
candidate
I'm
is
inviting
winning
you. You should pass by.
Oh, this is a
I'll
party
come and help my
party
candidate.
event.
No, but you are coming because of me.
Thank
I'll
you
come
so
with
much.
Kofi
Stay with us.
Damacy
After the
there.
break, we have Isaac Adongo. Don't miss it. On Hard Talk this morning, I'm sitting with the Member of Parliament for the Bolgatanga constituency. He's ranking member on the Finance Committee in Parliament, and he's also the NDC's campaign spokesperson on the economy. Isaac Adongo, thank you very much for coming on the show. Good
Thank
morning.
you very much.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
How's the constituency? How have you been?
We are on there, trying our best to put our best foot forward and to appreciate the work that they have made us do over the years. It's not easy for people to have confidence in you and to repose such confidence. So the best we can do is to put our best foot forward.
Okay, let's get right into it. Let's start by telling me your honest views about the economy, where we are now, and the IMF program.
Yes, so the economy is in a very bad place. It is the reason we have a manifesto that focuses on resetting the country before we can move forward. One, this is a country that has filed for multiple bankruptcies. You cannot move forward or upgrade an economy that is already filing for bankruptcy domestically, with DDEP filing for bankruptcy, with more, bilateral donors and creditors filing for bankruptcy with commercial creditors, and filing for bankruptcy with international capital market players. So obviously such an economy needs to be reset. And we are very clear that the only way we can move forward as a country is to fix this mess, is to bring our country up to the stage where we become major players of the international financial community. At the moment, we are being excluded because they don't find us attractive enough to be part of that process, and we need to fix that.
But it appears that inflation has dropped significantly.
No, I'll come to inflation.
Okay.
The second one is that you cannot upgrade an economy where the major anchor of your monetary policy is insolvent, the central bank. You cannot fight inflation. You cannot fight interest rate dynamics. You cannot fight exchange rate development when the vehicle that you are using itself is insolvent. And the IMF says, go and repair that vehicle. So you must start by resetting that vehicle so that you have the capacity as a country to deal with those major issues that affect our lives, to deal with inflation, to deal with interest rates, and to deal with the exchange rate. Of course, you can see the exchange rate is now all over the place. We are dealing with about 16 cities today to the dollar. We are dealing with interest rate. The government itself is borrowing around 33%, making it almost impossible for the private businessman to borrow and run a business. Inflation, yes, is around 20-something percent, but if you consider that you have already lost 54% of the value of your CD in inflation in 2022, in 2023 you lost another 22%, basically your purchasing power is gone. You've lost over 90% of the value of your CD over the last 3 years. You cannot be celebrating wiping out people's income. And your salary has remained the same. And yet the prices of goods and services are up there and inflation is all over the place. So you cannot be celebrating 22-23%. You should begin to reverse that trend in order that you can give value to the people. And we need to address that. Food inflation is our biggest problem. We are not able to produce enough to feed ourselves, and we are spending the scarce resources to import food into our country after several years. And so we want to reset agriculture and make agriculture the mainstay of the driver of our economy. And that is why His Excellency is very clear that he wants to make agriculture attractive to our youth by introducing what we call the farmer services centers that will provide all the equipment and the inputs that the youth need and engage our chiefs and landowners to acquire land on behalf of the state and make them available to the youth, provide them with the tractors to prepare the land, provide them with the broadcasters to plant their seeds, and to provide them with fertilizer and weedicides to prepare their lands. And at the end of the day, also make sure that we're able to provide them with the combined harvesters and all that they need to harvest, and integrate that forward by using the Exim Bank to provide support to the private sector to set up processing factories to process those food, either for exports or for domestic consumption. And you know that he set up the Exim Bank, and he's very clear what he wanted to use the Exim Bank for. And we want to go back to the blueprints and begin to work backwards. And we are very clear that when we set these fundamentals, the economy will be working again.
Okay. Honorable, I mean, when it comes to the economy, I don't have to tell you, but the key issues that determine basically how well the economy is doing is the real GDP growth, inflation, budget deficit, and the depreciation of the cedi, right? Now, Dr. Baumia says, and the data from the Bank of Ghana, that John Mahama in 2012 inherited quite a healthy economy. But when you look at the data, it appeared that the indicators show that he was abysmal in his performance. And this is according to Dr. Baumia, not according to me.
No, so you have done your research. Tell me what the numbers. Tell me.
I mean, I have the data.
The data is saying what?
So, I mean, in 2012, GDP growth was at 8.8. And then in 2013, it went down to 7.1. 2014, it went down to 4.2. In 2015, it went down to 3.9. In 2016, it went further down to 3.7. When you look at inflation as well, in 2012, it was 9.2. In 2013, it was 11.4, went up to 11.4. 2014 went up to 15.4. 2015 went up again to 17.1. When you look at the budget deficits and you look at inflation as well, the figures are there. I'm sure that you've seen these figures. These are Bank of Ghana figures.
And who are you comparing with? You are comparing to John Mahama to Baumia?
Is that said, not? Dr. Baumia says.
Yeah, not what he says. What are you comparing with? We are comparing John Mahama to Baumia, or we are comparing John Mahama to Professor Mills. Who did John Mahama inherit from? Professor Mills. Is Professor Mills an MPP man? Who was the vice president then? John Mahama. So what are you comparing? So let's be comparing with his regime
But he's also the vice president.
Yeah, so 2017 to where we are now. Let's compare that. Are you suggesting that 17% inflation is worse than 54% inflation? Is that what you're suggesting?
Certainly not.
Are you suggesting that a GDP of 0.4% of Dr. Baumia is better than 3.7%? Please, don't be listening to Dr. Baumia. Do your own research.
I have, but the figures that I gave you
so
are
why
not
are you,
figures.
Why are you
They
painting,
are figures from the
so,
from
yeah,
Bank,
so
Bank
and
of
the Bank
Ghana.
of Ghana also have figures for Dr. Baumia's reign. And I want to compare Dr.
I
Baumia.
brought that. Hold on.
So
of
start
course
telling
we will
me
get,
those
hold
numbers.
On, hold
compare
on.
those numbers to Baumia's numbers, and
Hold
let's
on.
have a
Hold
conversation.
On. You started. You were talking about the fact that the economy is in tatters.
Yes.
And in their defense, because they are not here, in their defense, they say that you cannot compare your record to theirs because even at their lowest, when they handed over the economy to you, it was doing well.
Who compare or who handed to who?
When the NPP handed over to the
was
NDC.
That?
Well,
When was that?
no, but these figures that I'm quoting
They
from
are in Professor Mills' time.
Okay.
Is it MPP that handed to John Mahama?
No.
Who handed to John Mahama?
Professor
John Mahama handed to himself. Are you getting my point? And you are saying that John Mahama did better as a vice president. That's what you are saying. But as a president, you don't want us to compare his reign to your reign. Who does that? Is Professor Mills MPP? So 2012, MPP was in government and handed over to John Mahama? Is that what you're saying? So what are we looking at? NDC handed over to MPP, Professor, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Why is he not comparing his record? Let's compare his record. 54%. You want to compare that to John Mahama's 17%, and you say that John Mahama was worse? You want to compare? I'm coming.
I am not saying it.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm speaking directly to somebody else.
Okay.
That person is telling you that a GDP of less than 1%, 0.4%, is better than 3.7% of John Mahama. That a debt to GDP of 56% is worse than a debt to GDP of 0.4%.
Okay.
And that, I'm coming. I want to compare the numbers.
Oh, let's
I want to compare the
numbers
so that it is very clear.
Of course.
That a depreciation of 9% is worse than depreciation of 54%.
Okay.
Is that the view of Bawumia? I want to know. Is that his
Dr.
view?
Baumia's and the NPP says...
Even his own child.
Mr.
own child,
If you'd allow me.
No, because you asked me a question.
Yeah, but you are talking... I'm still on it.
Okay.
I'm still on it. And according to the NPP and the data that we have, we appear to be doing well until COVID struck in 2020. And when you look at the figures, I mean, the NDC, the NPP took over in 2017.
Yeah.
GDP, when it was 2016, when the NDC was handing over, it was at 3.7. In 2017, it grew to 8.1.
Let me tell you, in economics, there is something we call the lag time.
Okay.
You see, there's a principle that says that no matter how much you water a plant, it doesn't germinate and grow and bear fruit that same day. You know that? So even in 2017, before they could form a 125 minister government, the economy was already growing. Don't you know where it was growing from?
Where was
it was growing from the policies that were bearing fruit, because in economics, it's not an event. So when you put in the work, in fact, the World Bank and the IMF predicted that our economy was to grow at 8.5% in 2017. Were they suggesting that it was going to be reversed because they have become so now what happened that in subsequent years, we were now seeing declining growth.
But I just said it. They said that we were doing well until COVID struck.
No, COVID didn't strike in 2018. Tell me the numbers in 2018.
Oh, in 2018, there was 6.3. GDP was 6.3.
So,
and then 2019, it grew back again to 6.5.
So you start from 8 point something when you have done nothing, and you begin to put in a reverse year, and then you, look, let me tell you, in 2019,
but 2018 and 2019 figures were still better than that of 20.
And I'm suggesting to you that I'm suggesting the 2017 numbers. The result is the result of the implementation of Mohammed's policies that were beginning to bear fruit. When you started reversing the policies and you started introducing your one village, one dam, one district, one factory, your NAPCO, the economy started in a reverse gear. It moved down from 8% to 6%. Doesn't that tell you something? Did they ever get that 2017 numbers again? Okay? That should be telling you that economic management, like I told you, no matter how you water a plant today, it doesn't germinate today.
All right.
And it doesn't bear fruit today. So no matter how much work we were doing in 2015, 2016, the fruits were to show in 2017. And
Okay, hold on for me. I need to take a quick break. Hold on for me. I'll be back shortly. You're welcome back. We apologize for that. If you just joined us, this is Hard Talk on GHOne TV. And I'm seated here with the Member of Parliament for Bolgatanga. He's also ranking member on the Finance Committee in Parliament and the NDC's campaign spokesperson on the economy, Isaac Adongo. Okay, so Mr. Adongo, you were saying, and let me just say that, you know, I want answers, right? Just like
and
the
I'm
viewers.
giving the
So,
answers.
yes.
Yeah.
So
when I speak, I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
So don't be offended.
Not at all.
Yes.
Not at all.
You are speaking somebody's mind. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
And I'm dealing with that mind, not
Okay.
you. So
That's fine.
don't be offended.
So
at
you were
all.
saying,
What
yes.
I'm saying is that in 2017, okay, you didn't even have a government. You were struggling to put together 125 ministers. You were struggling to appoint chief executives. You were struggling to appoint ambassadors. And that economy was on autopilot, giving you 8%. When you set up your government machinery and you began to do your work, the economy started going in reverse. Doesn't that tell you something? It tells you that the 2017 numbers are not attributable to your policies. They are the lag effects of the policies that were being implemented, which the World Bank and the IMF, go and do your research, had already predicted that that economy was going to grow in excess of 8%, even before you came. So, and it was based on the fact that they were looking at the trajectory of the policy implementation and the impact it was going to have. That was not going to change because you formed a government somewhere in September. No. So even before you started working, the economy was running. Now, when you now started implementing your policies and reversing the policies you came to meet, you saw that your economy was going backwards. Now, what I want people to understand is that Dr. Mahomia cannot take refuge in the work that was done by Professor Mills and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He has a government with a record. Why is he not comparing to that record? That's what we want. But if you are comparing John Mahama to Professor Mills, why? Is Professor Mills MPP? Was John Mahama not part of that government as a vice president? Of course, John Mahama is not running away from the record of that time. He is not saying he's a driver's mate. He says that he was a responsible vice president that was doing his work. Somebody says that, oh, me, I'm not part of it. When it is good, I'm part of it. When it's not good, you don't take responsibility. Any serious person will resign from that government. A government that you cannot associate with when things go wrong. Look, the records are quite clear. By 2019, this economy was facing very serious fiscal risk. That was the time that we were having 91% of debt service to our total revenue. So you are now left with just 9% to run that economy. How are you going to do that? You haven't paid salaries yet. You haven't paid compensation yet. You haven't paid for goods and services. You haven't paid for statutory funds.
You are not even talking about infrastructure, and you have only 9% to run that economy. And you are talking about an economy that somebody was running that he was using less than 60% to service debt. How can you say that the two economies are the same and that your economy is better? How can you say that? What was the depreciation in 2019? There was no COVID. You were doing over 19%. John Mahama was doing 9% at the time. And you are saying that depreciation of the currency of 19% was a result of COVID? Is that what you're saying? When your debt to GDP was almost 82% by 2019, was there COVID? There was no COVID. So the excessive fiscal and external vulnerabilities that were hitting this country was a result of mismanagement. So by the time COVID came, you know, a lot of people got COVID, but they didn't die. Others got it, they died. Because those who died, most of them have pre-existing conditions that were susceptible to attack. If you have diabetes and your glycemic level is so high, if you are hypertensive and you got COVID, you will die.
Okay.
So by the time COVID came, our economy was already suffering high levels of the glycemics.
In 2019, depreciation was 12.9.
12.9
Yes.
in 2019. And so the economy was run on 1 year. You see, when you are running an economy, nobody says that when you are running an economy, there will not be external shocks. It is the reason you build buffers to absorb the shock. So when you go to a war-torn country that you claim because bombs are landing there, your economy is in jeopardy, to go and beg for food, how dishonest can you be? Why? Is it Ghana alone that we had COVID? Why are we not looking at Cote d'Ivoire, even Benin, Togo? Why are they better than us? Why are they better than us? So at the end of the day, Bawumia should be taking responsibility for the mess. In one breath, your minister comes to say, we are sorry. Then I ask you, what exactly are you apologizing for? Are you apologizing for COVID? Are you apologizing for Russia-Ukraine war? Or you are apologizing for the debt restructuring that you put us through, the humiliation?
Why do you want him to apologize? He's the vice
He
president.
said he had apologized. The finance
You said
minister...
you want him to take responsibility
The finance
for it.
minister... Oh, but he was the head of the economic management team, or he's not anymore. Professor Jambafo, they don't work under him. Alan Chamanti, Ken Oforiata, who was managing them? Was it not he? When he was all over the place arresting a dollar that became fugitive, he didn't know he was a vice president? I am here to discuss his John Mohammed's vision
Yes.
for our country.
Let's get into
leave
that.
because even when you drive your car out here and you arrive at the filling station, I will not tell you what economy you are in.
No problem. Let's move on. Let's talk about the 2024 manifesto by the NDC and some of the plans that the NDC has there in terms of economy and finance. But first of all, I'm looking at the plans of the NDC, of John Dramani Mahama, what he intends to do in his first 120 days. And in point 13, he says that he will institute inquiries to investigate the following matters of public interest. And the first on it is the collapse of the indigenous Ghanaian banks and financial institutions at a supposed cost of 225 billion cedis, right? What is the plan of the NDC to investigate this banking sector cleanup?
Yeah, we believe that there was underhand dealing in the collapse of the banks.
How?
It was not fair. It was not transparent. We know banks that had not published their audited accounts for 3 years, and those banks were spared. And banks that were in trouble because government itself was owing its customers and refused to pay their customers for those banks to be properly capitalized from their own funds were shut down. An example is Unibank. Government was owing Unibank billions of cedis through their customers. Dr. Indum's bank, government was owing Indum customers a lot of money. And you were supposed to pay those customers. Those customers will in turn pay their debt to the banks,
the banks will be capitalized, liquid, and run. And you were going around shutting them. And we believe that depending on how your face looked, your bank went down.
Is that so?
Yes, and
But
that is why we must investigate this. We must get to the bottom of it. But in any case, people's livelihood were taken. Thousands of Ghanaian youth who had sustainable jobs were actually lost their jobs on the spur of the moment. Okay, especially for a government that was struggling to even implement NAPCO, a low-paying job. They were struggling with that, and they were collapsing sustainable jobs. We need to investigate that. We are not only talking about the banking sector. There were 422 financial institutions and banks that were collapsed. That is extraordinary. And we cannot sweep this under the carpet. We must get to the bottom of that.
okay, I mean, when on this same banking sector cleanup, sir, all those who went to court to challenge the decision of the closing of their banks, they lost the case by the BOG. They lost the case, and so when John Mahama says that he will investigate it and give them back their licenses, are you people not aware, respectfully, that these cases have been decided on in court?
Yes, they have.
So
Not all of them, but even for those that have been decided.
GN Bank, for instance, has
Those
been
that
decided.
have been
The High Court
decided.
has said that.
Ato was in court, right?
Yes.
You heard the things that happened. You heard the things that happened. It is the reason we must reset this country. People have lost faith in the judiciary. People don't believe that justice is served. And it is our duty to work with the judiciary to make sure that we bring back confidence of the people. When people,
So you mean you're going to appeal
when
the
you have
decision?
attorney generals that are
Is that
very,
what you mean?
What?
You will appeal the decisions?
I am saying that we will work with the court to ensure that Ghanaians see that justice is properly served.
How do you intend to do
We
that?
would engage them.
In what way?
You don't know engagement?
I know what
I am
engagement
saying that
is.
the entire resetting of the judicial system, not just a particular case. There is a problem of lack of trust in the judiciary in our country. You are not aware of that. The rating of the judiciary is not favorable. And we don't believe that justice is served in our judiciary. That is the point. So we are not going to take any extra judicial process, but we would engage the judiciary, would engage the people whose banks were taken, and we'll get to understand what happened.
But the findings are there, the cases are there, the reports are there. You can take a look at it.
It is what comes to court that you hear, right? If nothing comes to court, how will you know? The prosecutor, if it doesn't bring the facts, as it would vindicate the case of the accused, how would you make a case? The prosecutor is a government appointee who comes to court and talks with people on phone, asking people how to go and prosecute the case. You haven't heard that? When it comes to international arbitration and cases, because we don't know the judges, we abandon the case. And Ghana suffers penalties.
Are you insinuating that in the closure of these banks and the decided cases, the judges were known and that is why the decision went that way?
I am saying that there is a general lack of trust in our judicial process.
That's fair.
Yes.
And I'm asking you, how exactly does the NDC intend to give back the licenses of these persons?
I am saying that we'll
when
investigate.
the court has decided.
Listen to me. I'm saying that that is not closed. Those cases can be reopened. And we'll engage in legal processes to identify banks that were not properly taken. And we will do that. And I'm saying that there are 422 financial institutions. How many of them are in court? Can you tell me? Can you tell me how many cases are in court?
Well, I have told you about
And we have
GN
said
Bank.
that those banks that were wrongfully taken.
Which ones are those?
You want me to tell you all the 422 banks?
No, but you
So
said
the
that
investigation will tell whether the bank was properly taken. And if there was a judicial closure, that will mean that the bank is not wrongly taken. Why are you not interested in the fact that we are using an operative word, wrongly taken? You don't
I am
want
very
that.
interested.
So if
I'm
you like that, if you know that,
because when
if
you were
you know that,
mentioning, hold on, sir.
I'm coming. If you know that, then
Sir,
you will know that.
if you may, when you
Yeah.
were talking about one of the banks that were wrongfully taken, you mentioned GN Bank.
Yeah.
And I've told you that the court has made a decision that the BOG did no wrong and it revoked it legally. That was a decision
So
of
that
a
is
high
the
court.
point I am making
So
to
it is
you.
one of them. That's why I'm
No,
asking
so I am
you.
making the point to you that if our investigation throws up the fact that the bank was properly taken, it will not be among those that were wrongfully taken.
So what
And
will
the
be the role of
operative-
the central bank in all of this investigation you'll be doing?
Why they'll be part of it? They are at the center of it. They were revoking the licenses. And they
Okay.
must be telling us why they revoked the licenses. Is that not it? And what was the yardstick? So the investigation would throw out which banks were wrongly taken and those that were not wrongly taken. And I'm saying that we are talking 422 financial institutions, not a handful of 3-4 banks.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's focus on the NDC's, your manifesto, even though this was part of it. But that goes to suggest that you change the management of the central bank, or no? Will
The
you?
central bank is an autonomous institution
Okay.
with its own law, the Bank of Ghana Act. And the Act prescribes the succession of that bank. We will go according to the succession of that bank.
Okay.
And if, don't forget that we were in this country when we made Professor Aqua serve under Professor Mills, even though he was appointed by His Excellency John GHOne. So what I'm telling you is that there are laws that govern the central bank, how people are appointed to the central bank, and how people are dismissed from the central bank. We will follow due process.
What about Dr. Addison?
It is not for me to say. I'm simply saying that we will apply the full rigor of the law. And if the law says that Dr. Addison must go, and if the law says that John Mama is properly mandated to appoint a new governor, so be it.
But you have been asking him to resign.
He has not resigned.
So will he stay when
It
you
will
become
not be a
you
question
come
of
into
him
power?
resigning. It will be a question of us applying the law. If you say somebody resigns, that's on his own volition, right? He doesn't resign. What do? If you take over power and you feel that he's not fit for purpose, you go through due process. And if the law mandates His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to change the governor of the central bank, that will be done.
All right. On your manifesto still, let's focus on the economy, of course. That's why you're here. And I want us to get into costing and funding.
Yeah.
You know, all these, from next month, I'm sure that you're well aware that we'll resume our payments to the international bondholders and we'll pay some 7 billion cedis. And so if we, in total, in the next 4 years, we're going to be paying about 64 billion Ghana cedis, right? And if we negotiated these terms with bondholders and we made all of these plans, will there be fiscal space for the next government to be making all of these promises that they are making?
I don't know where you are getting the information from. The only MOU that has been signed is with bilateral creditors. What we have from Eurobond and other commercial creditors are proposals. Okay? And I'll be very surprised that a government that is restructuring and looking for space would be making payment in the same year of restructuring. I would be very surprised. So I don't know where you are getting that data from. But what I do know is that in our budget, we have a debt service in excess of 80 billion. It's about $7 billion of debt service. That service was based on the assumption that we may not conclude the negotiations. And because we may not have concluded the negotiations, the obligations still stand. However, if you look at the negotiations that have happened with the Eurobond holders, you would find that the arrears of repayment were restructured into this agreement. Okay? And it is also the reason that we were able to see almost about 4.2 billion in net present value terms accruing as a saving on the debt restructuring.
Okay.
So if that is concluded and signed off, and it is the basis for which the IMF released the second tranche. I mean, was it a third tranche? Yes, third tranche. So if that is concluded, the repayment starts from 2026. That is why I know. I am not aware of anybody paying any money between now and before 2026. And we are saying that the amount of money to be paid from 2026 is about $3 billion. And I'm suggesting to you that in our budget, we have 7 billion already appropriated for that. if we decide to put even 1.5 billion into the sinking fund, and it is part of our manifesto proposal to rebuild the sinking fund. So putting 1.5 billion into the sinking fund over 2 years gives you the 3 billion to pay. And you have in excess of almost 5.5 billion of fiscal space to manage this economy. Those are the numbers. I don't know if you have other numbers, but those are the numbers. And I'm suggesting to you that from 2025, our manifesto promise says that we are going back to the sinking fund we set up under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and through His Excellency, Honorable Setekwe. We will go back and rebuild that sinking fund. And we would use the proceeds that are accruing, which are not being used at the moment, to build buffers ahead of the payment of those debts.
Okay.
And that is going to be our most prudential approach to deal with the problem.
Okay. So these policies, the 24-hour economy, the free school fees for first-year students, and the big push,
Yeah.
for the sake of clarity, what's going to be what's it going to cost, and what's going to be the source of funding for them?
So we are aware that the free school fees will cost us about 300 million.
300 million cedis.
About 300 million.
Okay.
That money will be given to the loan trust.
Okay.
And the loan trust will disperse to the schools based on the students' numbers that are benefiting from this amount of money. And we believe that if we don't forget that we are resetting our fiscal framework. And if we reset our fiscal framework, we are aware that things like, one village, one dam. Do you know how much we are spending on that? That useless policy will go and create room for money to take care of the next generation of our children. We are not going to be paying useless money to Cathedral. $58 million gone. And we are talking 300 million Ghana cedis for our children.
Not to cut in, but what do you intend to do with the pit that has been dug?
The person who dug it will probably fill it before he leaves.
But if the NDC comes to power in 2025,
that is why he has brought a lot of
what will you do?
We will not continue with that project.
So what happens to it and the monies that we've spent so far?
We will spend money prudently. We would engage in efficient allocation of public resources and not one-time promises to God that we use to dupe the people of Ghana. We will take care of that later. But the important thing is that one of our
want to know.
Our priority will not be to be thinking about a hole that has been dug somewhere. Our priority will be to bring relief to the Ghanaian people who are suffering from hardships.
Okay.
That will be our priority. When we are now comfortable and we think that we want to think about a whole, that will be another matter.
All right.
But it will not engage our attention at the moment.
Okay, let's come back to the...
Yes, so I was going through the costing for you.
Yes, so you said
so 300 million. The fiscal impact of the taxes that we are giving out is about 8 billion Ghana cedis. 8 billion Ghana cedis. We have a budget at the moment of about 226 billion Ghana cedis. That 226 billion Ghana cedis, we are giving 8 billion of that to the poor and the vulnerable who are paying e-levy. To the unemployed youth that this government has failed to give them hope and jobs, and they are struggling to live their own lives with betting, we will give that money back to them. Emission taxes that they are struggling to implement, we will not continue it. So, are you telling me that if I have a pot of 226 billion and the poor and the vulnerable constitute part of my stakeholder group that I should cater to, and I'm taking action that gives 8 billion to them, you are worried about that? The big push,
yes,
is about $10 billion.
Yes.
And I want to give you a track record so that you appreciate and situate the conversation.
Before you give me the track record, will
Yeah.
it be from government or private sector? The
I'm
$10
coming.
billion?
You will get to that.
Okay.
I'm saying that the NDC developed the Tema port at $1.5 billion without it sitting on government budget. You are aware of that? MPS. The NDC developed the Terminal 3 without it sitting on the national budget. You are aware of that? You are aware of that?
Yes.
The NDC retooled our transmission lines in order to reduce transmission losses. We started from Huni Valley in Pristia and tooled the transmission lines to Kumasi and built a bigger a very bigger transmission system in Kumasi, the one Napo recently commissioned. It was part of that project. We continued all the way to Kintampo and developed another one after retooling the transmission line. We did that to Navrongo, and we were able to evacuate power to our landlocked country through the West Africa Power Pool. And that is why government of Ghana is receiving money from Burkina Faso, from Mali, from Niger. We did that without putting it on the government budget. We used the balance sheet of GHOne. By the way, we ran GHOne so profitable that their numbers on their balance sheet was enough to guarantee for those monies. So we are masters of PPP. And the big push, we estimate that about 60 to 65% of that will go into infrastructure that the private sector is capable and better at delivering. For instance, if we earmark that we are developing and we are dualizing the Accra-Kumasi Road into a 6-lane, with our own development finance arrangement, we would use the Ghana infrastructure investment to leverage funding from multilateral institutions, Afri-Exim, IFC, Africa Development Bank. We will leverage these funding to generate money for Ghana Infrastructure Fund to help with the private sector to set up a special purpose vehicle where the private sector will be required to contribute to leverage the funding from the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund to construct that road on a lease basis for, say, 20 years, 25 years. And when it is done, it reverts to the state. We have done that with Ameri. Ameri now is owned by Ghanaians. It's owned by the government of Ghana. And that was the ingenuity of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who said that I want to bring this plant. Ghanaians will use the tariffs that we are paying to pay off the plant. And when we finish paying off the plant, you leave the plant for us and go back where you came from. People came and said, Ameri, there was corruption, and they went around drinking tea in Dubai. Later, what did they tell us? They brought $1.3 billion for Ameri Innovation Deal to extend the slavery to almost 10 more years. And when the people of Ghana, through parliament, rejected it, today, Ameri is for us. And they are the people who took it to Kumasi. Of course, Kumasi is part of Ghana, so we are comfortable with that. But I want to tell you that we are going to use development finance to anchor our big push. We are going to do that through Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. We are going to do that through EXIM to support industrialization. We are going to do that through the Venture Capital Fund, which will be reformed and refocused as a private equity firm to deal with that. We will restructure Maslock into a proper private arm for funding the SMEs and to partner the SMEs. And we will use development finance to raise funding on wholesale basis for the Development Bank Ghana to be able to provide the necessary funding to support the economy. And we believe that we are capable of generating between 6 to 7 billion on that account. The rest of the 3 billion, there are certain capital expenditures that the private sector is not the right place to invest in. For instance, education. If we want to build basic schools for our people, we want to build and complete our e-blocks, we don't need, the private sector will not do that because that is social services to our people. If we want to construct hospitals, and you know that we set out to construct a number of hospitals. At the moment, we have promised hospitals that we need to construct and to retool existing hospitals that have not been improved over the last 8 years. And when we do that, we are going to depend on the other half of the 3 billion to do that. That will sit on the national budget.
Okay, the 24-hour economy.
So the 24-hour economy is the game changer. We believe that difficult times require innovative solutions. Yes, we are not saying that nobody is practicing 24-hour economy, but government wants to be intentional about it. Government wants to be deliberate about it. Government wants to attract interest for entities that were not even thinking of doing 24-hour economy to roll onto the 24-hour economy because of the incentives that they will get. And we have this, our 133 policy. It is one policy that divides jobs into three on a three shift basis, and that recruits two more people to make it three. So a job being done by one person will now be done by three people. So two people are put to work. In addition to that, it will spell out, so the big push, part of the infrastructure of the big push, is to provide the needed infrastructure that will facilitate the 24-hour economy.
So what are the timelines for the implementation of this
You are
24-hour
not allowing me to explain.
Oh, I thought that you were done.
Because this, no,
I thought you were done.
No,
Sorry.
I'm explaining. This
Okay.
is the heart of our manifesto.
No problem. Please
Exactly.
go ahead. I thought you were
to
done.
solve the problem of
Forgive me.
unemployment and to create jobs for our people. We believe that with the 24-hour economy, there are certain segments of the economy that when we allow them to work 24 hours, they will generate not just decent jobs, but it will grow the economy and our GDP will multiply. An example is agribusiness. I've already told you how we want to improve agricultural production through the farmer services centers. So those rice that I was talking about, if we use EXIM through the development finance that I told you to help people set up, private sector set up factories to process the rice. In the processing of that rice, we are aware that rice is produced in bulk at a certain season in the year because we don't have irrigation facilities. And at that point, the processing factories will need to scale up production in order to produce for the all year round. And it is at that point that the youth in those catchment areas who are unemployed would benefit from the 24-hour economy and will begin to engage in productive activities and be sustainably employed. In the pharmaceutical industry, the track record of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama when he was president, and through the leadership of Honorable Haruna Idrisu, the Ministry of Trade provided a lot of financial support to the pharmaceutical industry. It was because His Excellency John Dramani Mahama believed that Ghana could serve as the hub of pharmaceuticals in the sub-region. We want to go back to that. And we want to encourage people who want to set up pharmaceutical companies with the aim of leveraging the potential in Ghana to serve other underserved countries like Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Mali. We will be able to produce from here, and we will be able to give exemptions to equipment that they bring in, vehicles and other input that they bring in to set up those factories. And if they're existing factories, we'll give them those incentives to employ more of our youth. We will provide them with smart meters to reduce the cost of electricity. Okay? We will provide the security and the transport system that is required for people to go to work at night and feel comfortable and safe that they can go to work and come home without any happenings. That is going to be our trump card, and that would translate into a lot of jobs. And I want to tell you that 24-hour economy is not a sector-specific policy. It's a cross-cutting policy. So in education, if there are opportunities to do 24-hour economy, do it. In agriculture, if there is opportunity to engage in 24-hour economy, do it. If you come to tourism and you can engage in 24-hour economy, do it. If you come to manufacturing and you can do it, do it. If you come to public services and you can identify agencies such as Passport Office, DVLA, do it. So it is not a sector-specific policy, but it is a mainstreaming and a cross-cutting policy that is supposed to work across the entire real ecosystem of our country. And that is the blueprint of the NDC.
Okay. How do you respond to those who say that in some sectors, the 24-hour economy is already operating? Yes. You talk about manufacturing. They tell you that some companies, when you go to Tema, they're already doing 24 hours. You talk about pharmaceutical, they make the same argument. You talk about entertainment, which comes under tourism, and they say they're already running it. And so what makes yours so different?
Did you ask them whether we're not building factories when they announced one district, one factory? Did you ask them whether we're still not building dams when they said they were going to build dams in every village? You didn't ask them. The fact that certain entities on their own are taking the cost to optimize their equipment. And when I say optimize, you see, if, excuse me, on your platform, if I mention Tobinco, I'm not advertising. But assuming that Tobinco has invested a lot of equipment to produce pharmaceutical products, and his workers close at 5, whether they are working on the plant for the rest of the 16 hours or not, the cost of that plant is already incurred. The loan he took to buy that plant is still servicing it. Do you get the point? So if somebody comes to say that, why is it that you are not operating for the rest of the 16 hours? He says that the electricity bill is killing me. It's okay, if that is your problem, I will give you a smart meter that will differentiate your electricity from everybody else. But in response, we want you to recruit more people to run those additional shifts. Then he said, yes, but when I even do that and I get small profit, GRA will come and take it. We said, what if we give you a rebate on your corporate taxes to encourage you to do more? Because we believe that when you produce over the 16 hours that you were not producing, the cake is bigger. And so even if we are taking just 15% as your corporate tax, it will be more than we're taking 25% for the smaller cake. We're able to convince you. You say, but to be able to do this, I need to expand the factory to be able to engage people over 16 hours. Otherwise, I will not be able. My raw materials will finish. It's okay. What if we help you to access additional working capital from any of the institutions that are partners? So your working capital problem is solved. So you can now buy more input into the country. We say that in addition to that, when your inputs arrive at the port, we will subsidize, we will make sure that you are not paying the full duty that you were originally paying. If you buy additional equipment, augment your plant capacity, we are going to give you exemption at the port. It makes it attractive to you. You are now being deliberate in instituting that to optimize your capacity and to produce more of the drugs. That is the thinking. So don't be saying that somebody is running a pharmacy and if you go there, he has written there 24 hours and so you can go and buy paracetamol. No, that's not the type of thing we are talking. We are talking about an intentional policy aimed at anchoring the creation of jobs and accelerating the pace of economic growth. That is what we are talking about.
Okay, have you averted your mind to the impact of this on the public wage bill, which governments have always complained about?
Yes, we
that
have.
Impact on our finances.
Yes, we have.
And what is the plan?
The plan is that there are certain aspects of the 24-hour economy that is private sector led. So that will not sit on our wage bill.
Okay.
And that is a significant proportion of the 24-hour economy will not be sitting on the public wage bill. Now that which sits on the wage bill, we will need to rationalize expenditure. You will need to go back, and we have signaled that we are going back to the IMF to re-engage them on the IMF program. And if we can demonstrate to the IMF that providing more security to anchor 24-hour economy, but also involving the private security companies to provide the security, so that it is not only Ghana's security services that will provide all the security needed, but private security companies will be trained and encouraged to support the system. That will not sit on the government wage bill. So the conversation around holding a consultative session, we have already signaled that we will hold a major stakeholder engagement to redesign and refocus our fiscal consolidation effort. And that all will be part of the new fiscal consolidation path that we'll be designing. And we'll be engaging the IMF to redesign that program. We believe that that program is not truly nationalistic. A lot of Ghanaians were not engaged. It was a desktop research. You just sat there and said the government has a PC peg. Journalists, you belong to an association. Did you ever have
GHOne.
do you have an engagement? Did you have an engagement to tell them what it is that you want to see in your sector? We want the program to be a truly Ghanaian program, not an MPP, not an NDC program, but a Ghanaian IMF program that serves the interests of Ghanaians and that set the path to sustainable development and growth. And we will do that.
Okay. finally, I have two more questions very quickly before we go. You keep mentioning the involvement of private sector
Yes.
in improving, doing a lot of the projects and even in improving infrastructure. The NPP, led by Dr. Baumia, is saying the same things. Now, this question, I'm not asking you as a politician, sir. I'm asking you as a finance person. Would you say that private funding or private sector funding is the way to go for Ghana?
Given the rigidities in our budget, given the challenges within the fiscal environment, you want to encourage your private sector to be a key player and a partner to government. The role of government is to set the congenial environment that allows the private sector to thrive. As a matter of fact, the private sector is better placed to create decent jobs than the public sector.
Right.
We have just about a little over 760,000 workforce. Look at how much you are spending on them. And it is still not enough. They still complain that the wage bill, the salaries are meager. So that should tell you that there's a limit to how much government can do in creating sustainable jobs. But you see, don't be comparing us with Dr. Baumia. Say we are showing our track record.
Okay.
We see, I didn't just say that. Let me tell you, we have a reason for quoting 10 billion. Way back in 2015, the Africa Development Bank produced a research paper on Ghana and said that Ghana needed to invest an average of $2 billion a year to remove infrastructure deficit and to be competitive. It was the reason in 2016 you saw John Mahama doing a lot of capital projects. It was in response to the Africa Development Bank research finding. After 8 years of expenditure being skewed in favor of consumption, we have seen that we now need to scale up further. And that's why we are doing 2.5 billion a year over a 4-year period gives you 10 billion. And we have examples that I have already shared with you.
Right.
We have 1.5 billion project to show. Do they have that? We have Terminal 3 to show. Do they have that? We have GridCo as an example of a public sector-led entity with private sector thinking in retooling our energy sector. So you don't be comparing apples with mangoes.
Okay.
We are far, far ahead
Okay.
of those things. We are not, you see, our strategy to deal with exchange rate is not gold for oil. Our strategy is that we are aware that 60% of our exchange program is coming from agriculture. So we fix agriculture, we stop the importation of food into our country, we deal with the exchange rate. We engage in aggressive industrialization through 24-hour economy, we expand production, we are able to conserve foreign currency, and we deal with the exchange problem. Not gold for oil that is leading to oil prices at the pump all over the place.
Thank you very much,
It's my pleasure.
Isaac Adongo. And, finally, I'm getting a lot of questions. Can you assure Ghanaians that the economy will be better under John Dramani Mahama if he becomes president?
100% sure. That is why we say, some people say you should upgrade. We are resetting to move forward. Okay? We are resetting. In other words, we are fixing the dysfunctional institutions and programs so that we are better placed for a takeoff. And I can assure the people of Ghana that they have the safest pair of hands in His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Professor Nana Jino Pokwajima to deliver to the people of Ghana.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Isaac Adongo is NDC's manifesto spokesperson on the economy. He's Member of Parliament for Bolgatanga, and he's also the ranking member on the Finance Committee in Parliament. Now, the Star Motor third-party extra allows you to protect your vehicle and change lives. At Star Assurance, they believe in driving change and not just vehicles. Do you know that our enhanced Star Motor third-party extra policy is designed to give you peace of mind while making a meaningful impact in the lives of children in need? Well, for every Star Motor third-party extra policy you buy, you contribute 5 Ghana cedis to Hope for Little Lives, a dedicated NGO working tirelessly to improve the lives of underprivileged children. The Star Motor third-party extra is an enhanced third-party policy that provides cover for loss or damage to your car. Stay with me. After the break, there's more. You're welcome back to the show. This is GH Today. I am Sewami here. Before we go, let's have a conversation on Petroleum Hub. I'm joined in the studio by the Chief Executive Officer of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, Charles Owusu. Good morning. You're welcome to the show.
Good morning,
And you have to forgive me for keeping you waiting. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Right. So tell us, I mean, for those who may be hearing about the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation for the first time, quickly, what do you do?
Thank you, Sawa. So Petroleum Hub is one of the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's policies. We've seen a lot of them. One district, one factory, free SHS. It's one of the policies that was given to the Ministry of Energy to make Ghana the Rotterdam of Africa. And by then, it was the Minister for Energy, Honorable Boakye Jakun, who actually ensured that this whole making Ghana the Rotterdam of Africa becomes a reality. What this agency seeks to do is to build 3 refineries.
Okay.
Looking at 300,000 barrels per stream day in terms of capacity, that will give you 900,000 barrels per stream day. Build 5 petrochemical plants that will supply fertilizers, support our pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, automobile, and the oxygens for hospitals. And then we're looking at storage, 10 million cubic meters in terms of storage tanks, what we call the tank farms. And then 2 jetties that will be able to accommodate all manner of vessels. These are key infrastructure. Then we have the ancillaries. We are looking at transportation, so road, rail, and air. And then we're looking at utilities, power plants. We are going to produce 1,000 to 5,000 megawatts. That will feed only the enclave. And then we're looking at waste treatment and water treatment. So these are the utilities. Then we have settlements. So residential area, commercial areas where we'll have the banking sector, the insurance, even your studios and malls. That will be there. So put all this together gives you the hub. And it's estimated to cost $60 billion US. And it's going to create 780,000 jobs. And this all infrastructure will sit on a 20,000 acre of land. Because of its mega in nature, it's being phased into 3. So we have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3.
Okay.
So phase 1 will have 1 refinery, 1 petrochemical plant, 3 million storage, and a jetty. And phase 2, same, because, you know, as I said about 3 refineries, so it's being blocked. Why are we doing this? We don't want one investor to come and hijack the whole project. And if you're unable to do it, then the whole concept becomes a standstill. So on the 18th of June, we were lucky to have this consultant that we've been dealing since 2019. And we signed the phase 1, which is estimated to cost $12 billion US on the 18th of June at Kempinski. And on the 19th of August, we had opportunity receiving the president to cut the salt for commencement of the phase 1, which is $12 billion US.
So that's what you just did?
Yes.
Congratulations on that. But
thank you.
How do you intend for this to align with the government's vision of making Ghana a petrochemical hub?
Thank you, sir. So, as I said, this, you know, Ghana, we produce oil, but we don't refine it. So this is going to build the midstream, which we have the upstream, midstream, and the downstream. So this is going to answer the question within the midstream. So Ghana will become a vertically integrated oil and gas country, meaning you are able to explore and produce, you're able to refine, and then you sell, which we have the OMCs around. So this is also feeding into the export strategy in terms of the ECOWAS market and the continent. Now we have Africa Continental Free Trade. So that is where Ghana is going to be export driven, adding value addition to what we have. We've seen what we've done to the free SHS, like the human capital value addition. And now adding value to our natural resources, what the Petroleum Hub is coming to do. So it's in line with the government aspiration of doing this in accordance with Africa Continental Free Trade. And it's export driven. So it's not looking at the domestic market. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the opportunities that it provides for Ghanaian businesses also. What does it bring on board? What does it add to especially SMEs? Thank
you. So what I've been telling Ghanaian business is that we should also learn to do business together. So because of the capital outlay of such projects, we are calling on Ghanaian businesses to come together. 10 of them can come and say, we want to build a state-of-the-art laboratory, we want to build hotels, we want to build a real estate, we want to build roads and tow them, we want to build a power plant. So these are what we call the ancillaries or the common usages, because Ghanaians are already doing it. But if one person wants to do it, it becomes difficult. For instance, the first investors that we have, there are a group of companies coming together and forming this consortium. And that is why we are calling on all the SMEs in Ghana to form partnership to be able to take advantage of this whole petroleum hub or the petrochemical industry we are about to build.
Okay, we also understand that it's going to create about 700,000 jobs. Is that correct?
780,000.
I see. That's very interesting, especially in these times when people are crying over jobs. How do you intend to do that? How is that going to play out?
Thank you. These 780,000 jobs were estimated by LUSPA, Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. They have a way of doing it. And so as you rightly said, now the major issue in the country is about jobs. So when it happens like that, how do you make it transparent? And not, if I come here, you have a CV, you give it to me because you have cousins, you have nieces and all of that. So we are coming up with what we call the data repository to make it transparent. And next month will be our third anniversary, and that is what we want to launch. And our focus is jobs, jobs, jobs. So we open this portal. This portal is going to be in a web form, in an app, and a USSD. Because the jobs in Petroleum Hub is not for those who have been to school. It's for those who have been to school, those who have not been to school. So we are looking at artisans, we are looking at internship, we are looking at graduates and professionals. And so this portal, they're going to go the whole nation, about 16 regions, to sensitize people how to use it. But we'll first launch it, make the announcement for people. We'll come here even show your viewers how they're able to use this portal and put their information there. It's very easy to use it. It's user-friendly. So next month, we are going to launch it to make it also transparent, because you are able to drill down the dashboard to know which region you are coming from, which district you are coming from, in terms of the gender, in terms of what you are doing. Are you an artisan or what? Have you gotten job? And between this portal to the investor is where we build what we call the training and certification. So because of that, we took Takoradi Technical University to Malaysia and Singapore to understand how the mainstream are being trained, because they've been training the upstream since 2010. That we started production in Ghana. So we're doing a lot under G.
I can see that. How do investors and the general public get in touch with you?
Okay, so we have 2 offices currently. In Accra, we have Jolu 335 Place on the 8th floor, and in Jomro, Nauli, we have an office there. We can be reached
in Jolu. Okay, that fancy building there.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're on the 8th floor, and then we have our website www.phdc.gov.gh. and email info@phdc.gov.gh.
Is there any telephone number that they can call?
Yes, permit me.
That's fine. Go ahead.
So we have 0536 412 711. 0536 412 711 or 0303 940 682. 0303 940 682. So these are the contacts that we can be reached on.
Okay, finally, before we go, what message do you have for Ghanaians, especially those in the Western region, and generally about the works that you intend to do and the potential benefits that it brings to all of us?
Oh, thank you. So we want to use this opportunity to thank the people of Ghana, especially those in the Western region and Jomros, to be specific. The likes of the regional minister, the Western regional minister, he has been very, very supportive. The MC at Jomro, the MP at Jomro, the chiefs and the people of Jomro, they've received us in terms of stakeholder engagement. And permit me to say this, some of their feedback found their way in the president's speech, where they wanted the name to be changed. Now it's going to be Jomro Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. They want the headquarters to be in Jomro. The president accepted it. And the president has allocated 200 million cedis to start part payment of the compensation.
Compensation, okay, so, I remember that.
Yeah,
yes,
so that is what we want to thank them for.
But even though the chiefs gave you the land for free, you're going to still compensate them?
No, it's not free.
It wasn't free?
It's acquired compulsorily.
No problem.
Yes, sure, literally we say they've given us their land for us to come and do.
I thought that it was freely given, but it was compulsorily acquired.
Yes, under Article 20. So.
Yes, so you've started the compensation process.
Yeah, we are going to start it next month because the land commissioners to go and do what we call a land exhibition.
Right.
You see, their data has been captured. Like when we are about to vote, you go and check your name, whether yes, your name is there as Charles Owusu and you're going to vote in Jolu. And maybe they put me in Adenta, I need to correct it. So they will do the exhibition. Once that is done, then the payment will start because we want everybody to understand and then we'll be able to pay smoothly. So that's what we've done currently. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Charles
Thank you,
Owusu.
Sewa,
He's
for having me
Chief
here.
Executive Officer of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. And all the best with this project. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay. When will you finish it? Do you hope to complete it?
Oh, it's 5 years
5
in
years.
each of the phases. So
Right.
by 2036, we should have the project running. Yeah.
Okay. I have a few birthday wishes that I have to do. I'm going to do it with you. So I read one and then you read one too. So happy birthday, my dear sweet princess. May Allah's mercy continue to shine in your life. We love you. Hamdia from Saida, Uhana, and Adiza. Okay, let's go.
Happy birthday to my dear baby. Nah, today you have added another candle of knowledge and wisdom to your life. May it give you the power to enlighten the whole world. On your birthday, I wish you love, joy, peace, and happiness from Sami.
Okay. Oh, there's another one. Happy birthday to Michelle Odum Ado. May God bless you and keep you. Grace for greater exploits. And I have another birthday wish from Nade Day. I have to quickly do it before we wrap up the show. Happy birthday to you, Mrs. Mary Atakra Jumo, Akosia Brago of Asante Mampong. May you live long and remain in good health. God bless you richly. Your grandchildren, Declan, Iris, Myla, Kweku, Nana, and Kweku Lechu, wish you a blessed birthday. This is from your husband, Yao Jumo, and children, Kwejo Ikia Frema and Kweku Atakra Jumo. Thank you so much for watching the show. We will see you same time tomorrow, God willing, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Sewami here. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good morning.